Chapter 1441. Boom Boom. Two waves of majestic spiritual energy came from the backyard of the Wu Manor. Wu Wenyong and Yi Hao broke through one after another. One broke through from the first level of the Spirit Emperor realm to the third level of the Spirit Emperor realm, while the other broke through from the second level of the Spirit Emperor realm to the third level of the Spirit Emperor realm. After breaking through, Wu Wenyong was not in a hurry to go out. Instead, he began to stabilize his realm. Yi Hao was the same. However, his method of stabilizing his realm was to concoct pills. He got a lot of pills from the guards of the Wu Manor. He said it was to prepare for the alchemy conference half a month later. In reality, he was concocting Spirit Emperor realm pills for his people to consume in the future to strengthen their cultivation. During this time, Bing Yi came to the alchemy room a few times. Seeing that Yi Hao was focused on concocting pills, she left after a few glances. At this moment, in the main hall of the Yen Manor, the housekeeper knelt on the ground, trembling. He pressed his forehead against the floor. Standing in front of him was the head of the Yen Manor, Yen Jinru. Yen Jinru narrowed his eyes and looked at the housekeeper in front of him. He said softly, "How is it? Did you find out what I asked you to investigate?" "Master, I have investigated thoroughly several times. I found out that Yi Sangao and Wu Wenyong did not know each other before. They met by chance." Yen Jinru lifted the housekeeper from the ground. He looked at him and said word by word, "In one day you found out this for me. It is indeed a waste to give you so much money every month." Bang! Yen Jinru threw the housekeeper to the ground and kicked him a few times. The housekeeper did not dare to talk back. He quickly knelt on the ground and said, "Master, I found out that Wu Wenyong will be participating in the alchemy conference half a month later." "What? Wu Wenyong is going to participate in the alchemy conference?" Yen Jinru sneered. "How dare those lousy alchemists from the Wu Manor participate in the alchemy conference? They are really reckless." "Master, it is not those alchemists from the Wu Manor. The one representing the Wu Manor is Yi Sangao." "Yi Sangao?" Yen Jinru wondered if he had heard wrong. He mocked him? An ignorant kid dares to participate in the alchemy conference? What is his alchemist level? Him? No rank. No rating. Yen Jinru was stunned. He then laughed out loud and said, "Looks like the Wu family has really declined. You actually chose a kid who doesn't even have a ranking and can't take on such a big responsibility to participate in such an important competition. If that's the case, my Yen family will completely destroy your Wu family's reputation on the day of the competition. You will no longer have a foothold in Lishan City." Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. On this day, Wu Wenyong's group of 3, who had changed into new clothes, stood at the entrance of the Wu estate. They were preparing to head to the Pill Sect Empire's branch in the city to participate in the alchemist convention. Wu Wenyong, who had changed into a blue robe, waved at the guards standing at the door and said, "You can go back." One of the guards said, "Young master, are you sure you don't want to bring a few guards? I'm afraid that the Yen family—" Wu Wenyong waved his hand, "There's no need. The Yen clan wouldn't dare to act recklessly in the Pill Sect Empire's branch. Moreover, I still have Brother Sangao. It's fine. Remember, when I'm not around, you must strengthen the defense of the Wu clan." "Yes." After that, the 3 of them walked side by side to the Pill Sect Empire's branch in Lishan City. Along the way, Wu Wenyong and Yi Hao chatted casually. Bing Yi followed behind Yi Hao silently. Originally, Yi Hao didn't want to bring Bing Yi along because he was afraid that the Yen clan would play dirty like last time. After all, he had crippled Yen Qiji previously. The Yen clan wouldn't let this matter rest. However, for some reason, Bing Yi insisted on tagging along. Without a choice, Yi Hao could only bring her along. Wu Wenyong pointed to the street in front and said, "After crossing that street, turn right and you'll reach it." "Oh right, how are your preparations for this half a month?" "Everything is ready." "Good, I believe in your strength. This time, my Wu clan will definitely surprise everyone present. At the Pill Sect Empire's branch, Wu Wenyong and his group were invited in after reporting their identities. As soon as the three of them entered, they saw a gray-haired old man walking towards them with a smile. Wu Wenyong looked at the old man and walked over enthusiastically. He held the old man's hand and asked with concern, "Hello, Grandpa Gu. How's your health recently?" The old man who was called Grandpa Gu smiled and patted Wu Wenyong's hand. He said, "Thanks to you, I'm still quite healthy. Who are these two?" "These two are my friends." Wu Wenyong smiled and introduced them to Grandpa Gu. Oh, very good. A talented man and a beautiful woman. What a good match." Hearing this, the two of them looked at each other at the same time. Then, they quickly turned their heads. Grandpa Gu touched his white beard and asked, "Wenyong, today is the alchemist conference. Where are the alchemists from your Wu clan? Why don't I see them?" Wu Wenyong smiled and touched his head. He said, "Grandpa Gu, they're here." "Oh, could it be that you're preparing to participate personally this year? But I remember that you're only a second-grade alchemist. I'm afraid you have no hope of winning." "Grandpa Gu, it's not me." Then, Grandpa Gu looked at Bing Yi, who was standing at the side, and said, "Could it be this good-looking girl?" Bing Yi said with a cold face, "It's not me either." Grandpa Gu became more and more confused. In the end, he fixed his gaze on Yi Hao, whose face was a little dark. "Could it be this young man? Grandpa Gu is right. It's him, Yi San Gao." Grandpa Gu looked at Wu Wenyong in disbelief. Then, he looked at Yi Hao and said, "Young man, you became an alchemist at such a young age. Not bad. What grade are you? Why don't I see your alchemist identity card?" Yi Hao looked at Grandpa Gu and said respectfully, "Grandpa Gu, I don't have an alchemist identity card." "How is that possible? As long as you're an alchemist, you should have an identity card. Why don't you have one?" Yi Hao was about to speak when he was interrupted by an ear-piercing voice. "He really doesn't have an identity card because he's not an alchemist at all. He's not even a grade 1. Everyone turned their heads and saw a middle-aged man with white hair walking in with a fatty who weighed more than 100 kilograms and an old man with a crooked body who was leaning on a walking stick. Dong Feng, the vice president of the Dan Sect Empire's Lishan City branch, who had been standing in the hall and chatting with other alchemists, saw the person who walked in. He quickly ran over and said with a flattering face, "Master Yen, you're here? Quick, please come in." Yen Jinru waved his hand slightly and smiled. "Vice President Dong, you don't have to be so polite. Isn't Grandpa Gu over there? Let's go and greet him." Then, the four of them came to the old man's side. Yen Jinru inadvertently glanced at Yi Hao. Yen Qiji looked at Yi Hao and the other two with eyes full of hatred. The old man with the walking stick walked past Yi Hao indifferently. Yen Jinru looked at the old man and smiled. "Hello, Grandpa Gu. We haven't seen each other for a long time. Grandpa Gu's body is still healthy." Grandpa Gu said indifferently, "Dong Feng, bring the guests in." "Yes, President." Yen Jinru wasn't angry. But before he left, he said to Wu Wenyong, "You actually want to rely on this trash to win. It seems like your Wu family is getting worse and worse." Chapter 1442. Wu Wenyong did not mind Yen Jinru's mockery. He smiled and said, "Thank you for your concern, Patriarch Yen. However, if Patriarch Yen has the time to focus on me, why don't you worry more about your own family? Be careful that there is no successor for such a huge family business." "Wu Wenyong, what did you say? You dare to threaten me?" Yen Qiji jumped up on the spot and shouted at Wu Wenyong. Old Master Gu stomped his foot and said, "Why are you quarreling? This isn't a place for you to quarrel. If you want to quarrel, do it outside." Yen Jinru flicked his sleeves and brought the angry Yen Qiji back to his seat. Wu Wenyong smiled at Old Master Gu and said, "Grandpa Gu is still biased towards me." Old Master Gu didn't reply. He looked at Yi Hao and then at Wu Wenyong and sighed. Sigh, I can't help you much. You're on your own now. Okay. Take care, Grandpa Gu. Wu Wenyong came to Yi Hao's side. The three of them found a seat and sat down. He then said, San Gao, Grandpa Gu doesn't know your strength. Don't take it to heart. Yi Hao smiled indifferently. Of course not. By the way, what's your relationship with old Master Gu? It seems that he treats you quite well. Sigh, that's a long story. Then make it short. Okay. Wu Wenyong poured himself a glass of wine and said, Grandpa Gu and my father have always been good friends. Therefore, he treats me especially well. I think old Master Gu doesn't particularly like the Yen family. That's right. Grandpa Gu didn't like Yen Jinru and his son back then. He even advised my father to be careful of Yen Jinru. Unfortunately, my father didn't listen. Later, Yen Jinru betrayed the Wu family. Grandpa Gu disliked him even more. Yi Hao also poured himself a glass. Just as he was about to drink it, it was snatched away by Bing Yi. Yi Hao looked at her and said, Why are you snatching my wine? Isn't there one beside you? Bing Yi rolled her eyes at him. You'll be competing in a while. You can't drink. Yi Hao looked at Bing Yi's serious expression and said helplessly, All right. Wu Wenyong couldn't help but laugh when he saw the two of them flirting. He looked across and coincidentally, the old man beside Yen Jinru also looked over. Their gazes met in midair. The old man cracked a smile, while Wu Wenyong's veins bulged as he crushed the wine cup in his hand. Yi Hao noticed the change and asked, What's wrong? Why are you so angry? Wu Wenyong retracted his gaze and straightened his expression. It's nothing. I just saw an old friend. Yi Hao looked at the old man opposite him and asked, Is he also a traitor? That's right, one of the many alchemists who betrayed my Wu family with Yen Jinru. Wu Wenyong recalled the old man's alchemy skills and reminded him, That's right, don't underestimate him. When he was in my Wu family, he was already a 4th-grade alchemist. Now that so many years have passed, he should have improved a little. Who knows, he might have already touched the threshold of 5th grade. Interesting, Yi Hao replied. He had some expectations in his heart. In the past, he only competed with others using martial arts. It was rare to compete with others in alchemy. At this moment, a pot-bellied middle-aged man walked into the hall with a group of servants and an unkempt middle-aged man. After the pot-bellied middle-aged man entered, he greeted everyone present and found a seat to sit down. Wu Wenyong introduced to Yi Hao, The pot-bellied man is the head of the Li family in Lishan City. The unkempt man beside him is a 4th-grade alchemist. I heard that he's very strong and can't be underestimated. Just as Wu Wenyong finished speaking, Old Man Gu stood up and said to everyone, All right, since everyone is here, the alchemy conference will officially begin. All right. Everyone in the hall cheered. Then, a shadow was projected in the middle of the hall. The image in the shadow was a divided alchemy room. Old Man Gu came to the middle of the hall and announced, This alchemy conference is divided into 3 segments. The first segment is to enter the alchemy room. The second segment is to identify the herbs. The third segment is to refine the pills. Now, you participants can go to the alchemy room corresponding to your number and wait for the competition to begin. By the way, everyone outside can see your every move in the alchemy room. So, don't cheat. Otherwise, you'll be disqualified from the competition and stripped of your alchemist identity. Old Man Gu, I have a question. Before Old Man Gu finished speaking, Yen Jinru stood up and said, You just said that if someone cheats, they'll be disqualified from the competition and stripped of their alchemist identity. But if someone isn't an alchemist and cheats, then you'll only be disqualified. I'm afraid this punishment is a little light. Old Man Gu remained silent. The surrounding people were in an uproar. Wu Wenyong's face was a little ugly. What? There's someone who isn't an alchemist? It can't be. He's here to be a joke. He's not an alchemist, and yet he dares to participate in the competition. That's right. I'm curious as to which idiot dares to humiliate himself. Master Li patted his stomach and asked with a smile, Yen Jinru, is what you said true? There's someone who isn't an alchemist participating in today's competition. Li Xiongwei, at such an important moment, Yen Jinru, wouldn't dare to deceive everyone. Yen Jinru paused for a moment and glanced at Wu Wenyong. Everyone immediately understood and pointed at Wu Wenyong and the other two. Enough. Old Man Gu roared and said, if someone who isn't an alchemist cheats, I'll inform the entire alchemy empire. In the future, the alchemy empire will ban this person from entering. All right. Yen Jinru clapped his hands and returned to his seat in satisfaction. Wu Wenyong looked at Yen Jinru with eyes full of anger and said angrily, this old fox is obviously targeting you. Yi Hao smiled indifferently and said, what's there to be afraid of? The competition is about strength. The identity of an alchemist is just an external thing. There's no need to take it to heart. As for cheating with my strength, do I need to cheat? Wu Wenyong laughed heartily, that's true. I've seen your talent in alchemy with my own eyes. You'll definitely win. At this moment, the alchemists who had signed up for the competition had left their seats one after another and entered the alchemy room. Yi Hao also stood up. Just as he was about to leave, Bingyi called out to him. Hey, you won't lose, right? Yi Hao turned around and said confidently, of course not. There's no such word in my dictionary. Everyone entered the alchemy room. A pile of herbs was placed in front of the alchemy furnace. Before Old Man Gu gave the order, some people had already started throwing in the herbs. The competition had officially begun. Chapter 1443. Yi Hao looked at the herbs in his hand and didn't rush to start. Instead, he waited quietly for Old Gu to announce the rules of the first round. Bingyi saw that some people had already started refining pills, but some people didn't. He asked in confusion, why have some people already started before Old Gu announced the rules? Wu Wenyong explained, those who participate in this alchemy conference are not necessarily newcomers. There are also many old people who have participated in the competition before. They are very familiar with the rules of the competition, so they know the rules of the first round. Wu Wenyong's gaze was fixed on three places. One was the Yen clan's alchemist, another was the Li clan's alchemist, and the last was Yi Hao, who was sitting quietly. Then what are the rules of the first round? The first round's rule is the standard grade. What is standard grade? Why didn't Old Gu announce the rules? Wu Wenyong's expression was a little solemn. He looked at Old Master Gu's calm expression and said, actually, Grandpa Gu has already announced the rules. Bingyi's eyes widened in confusion. Wu Wenyong fell silent. After waiting for a while, Yi Hao didn't hear any sound. He couldn't help but wonder what was going on. Were there no rules of the competition? No, Yi Hao sensed carefully. He could clearly feel that someone had already started refining pills. This meant that the rules had already been announced. Otherwise, it was impossible for someone to start refining pills. Yi Hao pondered carefully in his mind and fell silent again. Not only Yi Hao, but the other newcomers to the alchemy conference were also dumbfounded. In the hall, Yen Jinru saw that the hunchbacked old man's pill was almost done refining, but Yi Hao didn't move. He couldn't help but sneer. Is this third Hai Yi really someone sent by your Wu clan? He doesn't even understand the rules of the competition. What a joke. Yen Qiji didn't mock him. Instead, he looked greedily at the frowning Bingyi. Wu Wenyong surprisingly didn't retort. He was silently worried. He actually knew the rules, but he couldn't tell Yi Hao. Otherwise, he would be breaking the rules and helping Yi Hao cheat. Boom boom. In the alchemy room, 2 perfect grade 1 pills were successfully refined. Yen Jinru and Li Xiongwei looked at the 2 medicinal pills and couldn't help but reveal satisfied smiles. This was because the first to complete it was their 2 clans. Yi Hao, who was in the alchemy room, could clearly sense that someone had successfully concocted a pill. Suddenly, he stretched out his hands, picked out 10 types of medicinal ingredients, and quickly threw them into the alchemy furnace. Then, he started concocting. Yi Hao smiled and murmured, "The first round is the entry grade. What a great entry grade! If I hadn't carefully considered these 2 words, I'm afraid I would have been eliminated in the first round." Seeing that Yi Hao had taken action, Wu Wenyong revealed an expression of relief. Bing Yi still didn't understand and asked, why did he suddenly start concocting pills? Did he understand the rules? Speaking of which, what are these rules? Wu Wenyong no longer kept him in suspense and said directly, "The rule of the first stage is the entry grade. You have to taste it carefully." Entry grade, entry grade. Bing Yi, who kept repeating these 2 words, suddenly understood and said, "So the first stage is to pick out the pill you need from the many medicinal ingredients and then concoct it. As long as the pill you concoct is of the entry grade, even if it's a grade 1 pill, you can pass the stage." "That's right." Wu Wenyong smiled and said, "The reason why so many newcomers can be eliminated in this alchemy conference is because the rules are unknowingly announced. Some careful people can pass the stage after noticing it, but those who aren't careful often get eliminated. Since Sangao has already understood it, it seems like this stage is in the bag." "It's in the bag. It's still too early." Yen Jinru saw that Yi Hao suddenly started concocting pills and was shocked. But then, he relaxed and mocked, "This Yi Sangao isn't even an alchemist. So what if he understands the rules? Can he really concoct pills? What a joke." "That's right. Your Wu clan is getting worse and worse. They actually sent a kid to participate in the competition. Aren't they ashamed? In my opinion, this Wu clan is just trying to save face." Wu Wenyong smiled indifferently and stood up, saying, "Everyone, do you dare to make a bet with me, Wu Wenyong?" "Bet on what?" Yen Jinru looked at him with interest. "Bet on whether my brother Sangao can pass the first stage." "Okay, then let's add something to the bet." Yen Jinru looked at Wu Wenyong with a smirk. Wu Wenyong smiled and said, "Okay, I'll bet 50 shops on my Wu clan's north and south streets." "Straightforward." Yen Jinru stood up and said loudly, "Since you've placed such a big bet, my Yen clan can't be stingy. I'll bet 20 shops on the East City Street and 2 spiritual stone veins outside the city that Yi Sangao can't pass the first stage." Hiss. Yen Chiji sucked in a breath of cold air and said, "Father, isn't this bet a bit too big? What do you know?" Yen Jinru looked at his fat son with disappointment and said, "The 50 shops of the Wu clan are worth a lot of money. If I don't place a bigger bet, Wu Wenyong won't be fooled. Do you really think that Yi Sangao can win?" "Hee, you're right. Yi Sangao isn't even an alchemist. How can he successfully refine a standard grade elixir?" Yen Chiji laughed and said disdainfully, "Very good. Who else wants to bet?" Wu Wenyong stood in the hall and looked at everyone with a smile. "I'll bet 10 million spirit coins that Yi Sangao will fail. I'll bet 200 million spirit coins that Yi Sangao will fail. I'll bet 250 million spirit coins and a Spirit Emperor Realm elixir that Yi Sangao can't refine it." In an instant, everyone began to place their bets, certain that Yi Hao would fail. Even the vice president, Dong Feng, and the head of the Li clan were the same. Yen Chiji looked at everyone placing their bets crazily and said worriedly, "These people want to snatch it from us." Yen Jinru waved his hand and said, "It doesn't matter. The more people there are, the more the Wu clan can't deny it." "Okay, anyone else?" Wu Wenyong looked at everyone with a smile. No matter how many people there were, he would accept them all. "Since it's so lively, I'll join in the fun too." Old Man Gu took out a brocade box and placed it on the table. He smiled and said, "I'm not like you, rich and overbearing. I have a perfect grade 4th grade elixir here. I'll bet it." Wu Wenyong rubbed his hands and looked at Old Man Gu with a smile. He asked, "Grandpa Gu, what are you betting on?" I'll bet that Yi Sangao can pass the first round. Wu Wenyong smiled bitterly. Old man Gu laughed. I also have an elixir here. I'll bet that Yi Sangao can pass the first round. Finally, Bing Yi took out a perfect quality 9-fire heavenly spirit pill that was shining with a red light with a hint of golden light. Chapter 1444. Hiss. Everyone gasped as they looked at the elixir in Bing Yi's hand with sparkling eyes. That was a perfect quality 9-fire heavenly spiritual pill. It was different from a normal Spirit Emperor Realm pill. After taking it, it could help a person increase their cultivation by 2 realms. It was no exaggeration to say that this pill was more precious than the 2 pills that old Gu had taken out. Even Yan Jinru and Li Xiongwei, who were rich, couldn't help but look at this pill with burning eyes. Although they had a level 4 alchemist by their side, a perfect quality 9-fire heavenly spiritual pill like this wasn't easy to make. It was a treasure that could only be found by chance. At this moment, Yan Jinru said gloomily, "How do we know if the pill in your hand is a perfect quality 9-fire heavenly spiritual pill? What if you use a fake one to fool us?" "That's right. What if it's fake?" Everyone at the side agreed. "You." Bing Yi's face turned green. She was about to refute when Wu Wenyong stopped her. Wu Wenyong looked at everyone with a smile and said, "Since you don't believe in the authenticity of this pill, let's invite Grandpa Gu to take a look. We'll know if it's real or fake." Grandpa Gu is a level 5 alchemist. You can rest assured if he says so. We naturally believe in old Gu's words. Since that's the case, we'll have to trouble Grandpa Gu. Wu Wenyong took the pill from Bing Yi's hand and handed it to old Gu. Old Gu looked at the pill in his hand and frowned. Then, he laughed out loud. He looked at Bing Yi and asked, "Little girl, where did you get this pill?" "Old Gu, could it be that this pill is fake?" Yan Jinru asked before Bing Yi could. Old Master Gu ignored him. Instead, he looked at Bing Yi with a smile. Bing Yi glanced at Wu Wenyong and said, "Grandpa Gu, I can't tell you the origin of this pill for now." "Haha, it's okay." Old Gu stroked his white beard and said, "It's the same if you tell me when you want to." Yan Jinru hurried over to Old Master Gu's side and asked anxiously, "Old Master Gu, is this pill real?" Elder Gu placed the pill on the table and said in a deep voice, "Not only is this 9 heavens fire spirit pill real, but it is also of perfect quality." "What perfect quality?" Yan Jinru looked at the elixir with a burning gaze. He quickly said, "Miss, your bet has already been placed on the table. There is no reason for you to go back on your word." Bing Yi looked at him coldly and said, "Of course. I always keep my promises. I hope that everyone will not forget their bet." "Haha, of course. Exactly. Little miss, don't worry. All of us here are reputable figures in Black Mountain City, and we'll definitely not do something that goes back on our word." "That's right. However, if you lose, don't refuse to give it to me." "Ha!" Everyone said one after another. In their hearts, Yi Hao was not even an alchemist. It was impossible for him to refine a flawless grade pill. Therefore, they were bound to lose. At the same time, they were also extremely envious of this perfect grade medicinal pill. Boom! Just as everyone finished speaking, an extremely dense spiritual energy appeared in the alchemy room. Everyone looked up and saw a shining golden pill floating quietly in the air in the alchemy room where Yi Hao was. "Is this the completion of the pill?" Li Xiongwei looked at the pill floating quietly in front of Yi Hao, and the corner of his eyes twitched. Yan Jinru stared at the shining golden pill and said, "That's impossible. It doesn't make sense. He doesn't even have a grade. How could he refine a flawless grade pill?" Elder Gu was originally squinting his eyes, but when he saw the shining golden pill, his eyes suddenly opened. He stood up and muttered, "Is this a high-grade second-grade pill?" Elder Gu's words stirred up a huge wave in everyone's hearts. "What? How is that possible?" "That's right. He's not an alchemist. How could he refine the pill so quickly?" "That's right. Not only did he refine the pill, but he even refined a high-grade second-grade pill. That's impossible. Everyone discussed at once, and their hearts were filled with shock. What they didn't know was that Yi Hao did it on purpose. Otherwise, with his alchemy skills, refining a perfect-grade pill wouldn't be a problem at all. Second-grade pill? Yen Jinru kept muttering. Suddenly, he smiled sinisterly and said, Elder Gu, I suspect that Yi Sangao is cheating. These herbs are all first-grade herbs. It's only possible to refine a first-grade pill. How could he refine a second-grade pill? If this isn't cheating, then what is? Everyone was shocked, and they all agreed with him. Bingyi looked at these ugly people and said, Nonsense. The entire process of Yi Sangao refining the pill was under surveillance. How could he have the chance to cheat? How would I know how he cheated? Yen Jinru said lightly, but if he didn't cheat, how could he refine a second-grade pill? Wu Wenyong held back the angry Bing Yi and smiled at Elder Gu without saying a word. Elder Gu observed the pill carefully. After confirming that it was a perfect second-grade pill, he smiled and said coldly, Who said that Yi Sangao cheated? So what if it's first-grade herbs? As long as they're combined well, there's still a chance to refine a second-grade pill. Elder Gu continued, Yi Sangao put in 10 first-grade herbs. If these herbs are refined together, there's a chance to refine a second-grade pill. Yen Jinru asked carefully, Elder Gu, what do you mean? Yi Sangao didn't cheat. The pill refining is valid. Let's move on to the next round. Elder Gu snorted and sat on the chair. When he looked at Yi Sangao again, there was a hint of admiration in his eyes. I think you guys can't afford to gamble. If you can't afford to gamble, just say it. Don't slander others. Bingyi looked at everyone with disdain and mocked. You. When everyone heard Bing Yi's words, they were so angry that they couldn't speak. Wu Wenyong rubbed his hands and looked at everyone with a smile. Family heads, Yi Sangao has successfully passed the first stage, so I've won this bet. Don't forget about the bet that you've agreed to. After all, Grandpa Gu also placed a bet. Everyone was unhappy that they lost the bet and didn't want to answer. However, when they heard Wu Wenyong mention Elder Gu, they hesitated. Li Xiongwei laughed and said, Brother Wu, you must be joking. I'm not that kind of person. When Brother Wu has time, come to the Li family. I'll definitely give you the bet. When the other family heads heard this, they quickly agreed and looked at Li Xiongwei with gratitude. Wu Wenyong cupped his hands and replied, Of course, of course. Then, he looked at Yen Jinru, whose eyes were gloomy. Yen Jinru looked at him quietly and didn't say anything. In the alchemy room, Yi Hao looked at the perfect Supreme Realm pill floating in front of him quietly. He smiled and thought, Now I've passed. Chapter 1445. At this moment, Yi Hao did not know about the bet outside. He only wanted to pass the test as soon as possible and become the champion. Although Yi Hao had been under pressure in the past, it was not as much as now. He thought that the Tianyuan Empire would become stronger after becoming a fourth-rank empire, and that no one would dare to bully them. However, he did not know that the so-called strength of the Tianyuan Empire was displayed in the eyes of those who were stronger than them. In the eyes of those people, the strength of the Tianyuan Empire was simply nonsense. Therefore, in order to protect what he wanted to protect, he had to seize the time and work hard to become stronger. Dong. Not long after, Old Man Gu's voice sounded in the alchemy room. The first round of the entrance examination is over. Those who have not refined any pills, please leave the alchemy room as soon as possible. Otherwise, you will never be allowed to step into the alchemy empire. When everyone heard this, some were very happy and glad, while others were very upset and puzzled. Those who were glad were very glad that they understood the rules and stayed. Those who did not understand the rules of the first round were very unhappy that they were asked to leave before they understood the rules of the first round. Then Old Man Gu said, Now, the second round of recognizing herbs officially begins. Those who remain in the alchemy room, please put on the cloth at the side and cover your eyes. Yi Hao and the others did as they were told. Not long after, some people came in and took away all the herbs in front of them. Then, they replaced them with 10 different kinds of herbs. Now, there are 10 different kinds of herbs in front of you. Cover your eyes and use your nose to identify these 10 herbs. After you identify them, remember them in your heart. I will give you the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn. The time starts now. After that, everyone picked up the herbs in front of them and began to identify them. At the same time, a stick of incense began to burn slowly in the hall. Wu Wenyong looked at Yan Jinru and said, "What, is Patriarch Yan going to go back on your word?" "Humph." Yan Jinru snorted and said disdainfully, "I am the wealth god Yan. How can I go back on my word?" "Then what is Patriarch Yan's intention?" "I have never thought of going back on my word. I just want to make a bigger bet with you. What, do you dare?" Everyone could hear the strong smell of gunpowder in the conversation between the two. Then, they looked down and pretended not to see or hear anything. They did not want to get involved. "Sure." Wu Wenyong smiled faintly. "What kind of bet?" The corners of Yan Jinru's mouth curled up. He pointed at the virtual figure in the hall and said, "Let's bet on who will be the champion between you and my people." Li Xiongwei patted his belly and said faintly, "I say, how can you be so sure that my people won't win?" Yan Jinru ignored him. He looked at Wu Wenyong and said indifferently, "Do you dare?" Wu Wenyong smiled and said, "Sure, but for such a big gamble, if the stakes are too small, I'm afraid it doesn't match your identity as the Yan family head. I, Yan Jinru, bet all of the Yan family's asset. Do you dare to accept?" "Father." When Yan Qiji heard that his father wanted to use all of the Yan clan's assets to gamble, he couldn't help but hurriedly say, "No." Yan Jinru patted Yan Qiji's hand and said softly, "Don't worry. How can Yi Hao win?" Wu Wenyong pretended to think about it carefully, then slapped the table and said, "Okay, let's bet." In fact, he said in his heart, "Idiot, you're going to lose." Old Man Gu didn't participate in the bet this time. Instead, he stared at the projection very intently. To be precise, he stared at Yi Sangao in the projection. Yi Hao didn't know that Wu Wenyong had bet all of his assets for him. However, even if he knew, he would only clap his hands and cheer, making Yan Jinru lose all of his assets. After all, he was very confident in his alchemy skills. In the alchemy room, Yi Hao carefully smelled the first medicinal ingredient in his hand, and a smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. After putting it down, he picked up the second medicinal ingredient, followed by the third and the fourth. In less than half an incense stick's time, he finished smelling all of the medicinal ingredients and then lay on the ground in boredom. Just after Yi Hao, the Yan clan and the Li clan's level 4 alchemists were also done. Everyone in the hall had different expressions, but it didn't take long for the incense in the hall to burn out. Old Man Gu stood up and said in a deep voice, "All right, I've already asked someone to remove the medicinal ingredients. Now, there is a piece of paper and a pen in front of you. Write down all the medicinal ingredients that you just identified. If you write down 9 or more correctly, you can participate in the third round." Hearing this, everyone in the alchemy room took down their cloths and began to write quickly on the white paper. This time, the Yan clan and the Li clan's level 4 alchemists were the first to finish. Then, Yi Hao also finished, and then there were people who finished one after another. After Yi Hao and the others finished writing, someone took away their paper and sent it to Old Man Gu in the hall. Old Master Gu opened the slips of paper one by one and read them carefully. The others in the hall looked at Old Man Gu curiously. It didn't take long for Old Man Gu to finish reading all the papers. Then, he placed the 5 papers on his right on the table. Everyone asked, "Old Man Gu, what's the result?" Old Man Gu said, "The result is out." This time, 5 people passed. Their papers are on my right. Let me read it out. In Lan, 5th place, wrote 9 types correctly. Zwayusi, 4th place, wrote 9 types correctly. Li Mi, 3rd place, wrote 10 types correctly. Yen Yen, 2nd place, wrote 10 types correctly. At this point, there was only one paper left in Old Man Gu's hand. Yen Jinru and Li Xiongwei sat calmly in their seat. They were both level 4 alchemists, so it was naturally not a problem for them to pass the second round. Yen Jinru took a sip of tea and looked at the slightly nervous Wu Wenyong. He asked, "There's one more paper. Don't tell me that Yi San Gao can't even pass the second round? If that's the case, I'm really disappointed." Wu Wenyong pretended to be nervous and looked at the paper in Old Man Gu's hand. He didn't answer. Old Man Gu opened the paper in his hand and said loudly, "Yi San Gao, 1st place, wrote 11 types." Yen Jinru spat out a mouthful of tea. "What? Yi San Gao is 1st place? Why, that's right. How can he be 1st place? Wait, 11 type. Didn't he say that there were only 10 types? Why did Yi San Gao write 11 types? That's right. Why are there 11 types? If that's the case, didn't Yi San Gao write one more type? He should be eliminated." Old Man Gu stomped his feet in the face of everyone's questioning voices. "Quiet, I know what you're questioning. That's right. I did say that there were 10 types of medicinal herbs, but I didn't say to write down 10 types. I only asked you to write down the medicinal herbs that you identified. It seemed like there were only 10 types of medicinal herbs that I ordered people to put in, but there were actually 11 types. Yi San Gao wrote them all down word for word. Why isn't he 1st place? Why should he be eliminated?" Everyone was instantly speechless. Old Man Gu was in an extremely good mood. He said loudly, "I announce that the 1st place of the second round is Yi San Gao. The 5 people who passed the second round can rest for 2 hours. After that, they will proceed to the last round, the alchemy assessment." Chapter 1446. People left the alchemy room one after another. In the end, only Yi Hao and the other 4 were left. At the same time, Old Master Gu's voice sounded in the alchemy room. "Congratulations to all of you for making it to the end. As the saying goes, the most important thing for an alchemist is to refine pills. Therefore, the last stage is to test everyone's ability to refine pills. The time limit is the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Whoever can refine the highest quality pill and who has the strongest ability to refine pills will be the winner of this alchemist convention. Now, the precious herbs beside you are all from our branch. You can start refining your own pills." As soon as he finished speaking, Li Mi and Yen Gu grabbed the 4th grade herbs beside them and threw them into the alchemy furnace to refine pills. In Lan and Zwayusi hesitated for a moment before grabbing the 4th grade pills and starting to refine. Only Yi Hao sat there motionlessly. In the hall, Old Master Gu was very concerned about Yi Hao. He asked Wu Wenyong, "Wenyong, this Yi San Gao really doesn't have a grade? From what I can see, his alchemy skills and talent aren't bad at all." "Grandpa Gu, he really doesn't have a grade," Wu Wenyong replied with a smile. Old Master Gu nodded slightly, and a smile appeared on his face. Yen Jinru couldn't help but say, "I say, is this Yi San Gao scared silly? He hasn't done anything for so long. It seems like it was just a fluke." Without waiting for Wu Wenyong to speak, Bingyi retorted, "It hasn't been that long. Why doesn't your face hurt anymore?" Yen Jinru naturally heard the implied meaning. His face turned red and he shouted angrily, "You, pft!" Li Xiongwei couldn't help but laugh. Yen Jinru stared coldly at Li Xiongwei. "Old Li, what do you mean?" "Nothing, nothing." Li Xiongwei quickly waved his hand and said, "It's just that this young lady's words are quite interesting. I couldn't help it. Please forgive me." "Humph." Yen Jinru slammed the teacup in his hand on the table. His face darkened and he didn't say anything else. Yen Qiji was still looking at Bing Yi with infatuation. However, Bing Yi didn't even look at him. This small episode didn't affect everyone watching the alchemy. Suddenly, someone pointed at Yi Hao and said, Yi Sangao made a move. But why did he throw all the grade 4 herbs in? Hearing this, everyone took a closer look. Sure enough, Yi Sangao threw all of the 4th-tier medicinal ingredients into the cauldron. Old Man Gu looked at the herbs with a pained expression. TSK, this kid is indeed an ungraded alchemist. If he was an orthodox alchemist, he wouldn't dare to do this. It's just a pity for these herbs. My heart aches so much. Originally, Old Master Gu felt that Yi Hao's talent in alchemy was very high and wanted to take him in as a disciple. But after seeing this scene, he hesitated. Although there were a lot of medicinal ingredients, it was already very good to be able to form a single pill out of so many medicinal ingredients. Wanting to form all of them was too arrogant and too impatient. This was a great taboo in alchemy. Old Master Gu wasn't the only one who had such thoughts. All the other patriarchs in the hall had the same thoughts. Therefore, other than Wu Wenyong and Bing Yi, who were smiling, no one in the hall was optimistic about Yi Hao's actions. Yi Hao, who was in the alchemy room, didn't know what everyone was thinking at this moment. He felt that it was too troublesome to refine pills one by one. So, he threw all 50 sets of medicinal ingredients into the cauldron. Then, he used his spiritual energy to heat up the cauldron and slowly refine the pills. Old Man Gu's pupils shrank. Spiritual energy fire guide? Although the method isn't very formal, the principles used are similar. It seems that this kid has been hiding his skills. This is getting more and more interesting. I'm suddenly looking forward to it. Looking forward to it? Old Man Gu muttered to himself. It seems that I haven't felt this way for many years. The last time I felt this way was when I just became a grade 5 alchemist. Bang! At this moment, there was a sudden explosion in the alchemy room. Everyone looked over. It turned out that Yinlan's cauldron had exploded. It was obvious that the alchemy had failed. But now, more than half the time had passed. It was too late to refine any more pills. Therefore, Yinlan chose to give up. Not long after, there was a rumbling sound in the alchemy room. It turned out that Zhuiyuxi's pill was out. Everyone looked over with anticipation. They only saw an ordinary pill lying quietly in Zhuiyuxi's hand. Zhuiyuxi looked at the ordinary grade 4 pill in his hand. Clearly, there was a trace of dissatisfaction in his heart. Boom boom. Then, there were 2 more rumbling sounds in the alchemy room. It was Li Mi and Yengu. Both of their pills had been refined. One was shining with a faint golden light, while the other was shining with a dazzling golden light. The quality of the pills was obvious. Yen Jinru looked at Li Xiongwei proudly and said, "How is it, old Li? I already said that your people can't beat mine. My people refined a grade 4 pill of perfect quality, while yours refined a grade 4 pill of top quality. I'll definitely win." It's not the end yet. Patriarch Yen, don't jump to conclusions. Although Wu Wenyong's eyes were fixed on Yi Hao, he still said indifferently, "Haha." Yen Jinru laughed and said, "There's not much time left. Do you really believe that Yi Sangao can refine the pill? It's not the end yet. I can't wait to take over all of your Wu family's businesses." Wu Wenyong didn't argue with him anymore. He clenched his fists and stared at the projection. Bingyi stood at the side. Although she was worried, she wasn't as worried as Wu Wenyong. Old Man Gu was looking forward to the last moment. What kind of surprise could Yi Sangao bring him? Time slowly passed, and the incense stick stuck in the hall slowly reached the end of its life. Yen Jinru laughed and said, "Haha, time is up. Yi Sangao didn't refine the pill. Wu Wenyong, you lost." Wu Wenyong's clenched fists suddenly loosened. He said with relief, "Who said he didn't refine it? Open your eyes and look carefully." Before he finished speaking, there was a rumbling sound from where Yi Hao was. Then, a golden pill appeared in everyone's vision. Old Man Gu touched his beard and said in shock, "Hiss! This is A perfect fourth-grade pill. What? Everyone was in an uproar. Yenjinru still couldn't believe his eyes. He roared, "Impossible! How is this possible? He's a kid who isn't even an alchemist. How can he refine a fourth-grade pill?" On the side, Yen Chiji, who was still limping, hurriedly supported him and said softly, "Father, even if Yi Sangao refined a perfect fourth-grade medicinal pill, we haven't lost yet." Wu Wenyong looked at the father and son and said jokingly, "Oh? Is that so? Then take a good look." Chapter 1447. Hearing this, the father and son looked at the projection in the hall. They were dumbfounded at the same time and fell to the ground. Not only were the Yen father and son dumbfounded, but everyone who didn't think highly of Yi Hao was also dumbfounded. They looked at Yi Hao in disbelief. In the end, Old Man Gu was the first to react. He walked towards the alchemy room. Wu Wenyong and Bingyi followed closely behind. The others also reacted and followed closely behind. After everyone followed Old Man Gu to the alchemy room, the shock they received was far more shocking than what they saw on the projection. Above the alchemy room, there were 25 perfect grade 4 pills, shining with golden light. These 25 perfect grade 4 pills, without exception, were all perfect grade 4 pills. Old Man Gu couldn't believe it. He rubbed his eyes, but it was still the same. Hence, he came to Yi Hao and asked, "You made all these elixirs?" Yi Hao said in a deep voice, "That's right. I made all of them. Kid, you've really impressed me. Not only are the 25 elixirs not useless, but they're all perfect. Even I can't do this easily?" Yi Hao analyzed with some doubts in his heart. It seems that the grade of a fourth-grade pill should correspond to a Spirit Emperor Realm pill? Old Man Gu looked at Yi Hao's doubtful eyes and laughed loudly. He hugged Yi Hao directly. Yi Hao was dumbfounded. He tried his best to avoid Old Man Gu's embrace, but the old man was too strong. He couldn't break free. At this moment, after seeing this scene, everyone hurriedly left with their tails between their legs. Wu Wenyong looked at the fleeing crowd and laughed. "Everyone, take care. I'll definitely go to your residences and ask for a cup of tea another day." Hearing this, everyone walked faster. Li Mi and the other three also quickly left the alchemy room. Bingyi looked around but didn't see the despicable father and son. Hence he asked, "Where's the Yen father and son? The bet hasn't been fulfilled yet." "They ran away long ago," Wu Wenyong said indifferently. "With the Yen father and son's character, this bet won't be so easy to get." "What bet?" Yi Hao, who had finally broken free from Old Master Gu's embrace, walked over and asked. Hence, Bingyi explained the entire situation to him. Yi Hao looked at Wu Wenyong and said, "Bring me along when you go to the Yen family to collect the bets." "Of course." Wu Wenyong patted Yi Hao's chest and smiled. "This time, it's all thanks to you. Our Wu clan has been in the limelight this time. I believe that before long, the entire Lishan city will know that our Wu clan has an extremely young fourth-grade alchemist." At this moment, Old Master Gu walked over with a smile and said, "All right, this is not the place to chat. Come with me." Yi Hao paused for a moment and said, "Wait for me. I left something in the alchemy room." Then, Yi Hao came to the alchemy room and opened the alchemy furnace. With a wave of his right hand, 25 perfect quality Spirit Emperor Realm pills flew out of the furnace and into his space ring one after another. After doing all this, Yi Hao left with Old Master Gu in satisfaction. The three of them followed Old Master Gu to the study. Old Master Gu stood in front of the desk and took out a brocade box and handed it to Yi Hao. Yi Hao opened it and found a waist token with the words 4th Grade Alchemist engraved on it. Beside the waist token was a green pill. Old Master Gu looked at Yi Hao's puzzled expression and said with a smile, "Yi Hao, congratulations on winning the alchemy conference. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for completing the task of winning the alchemy conference. The reward is 2,000 mission tokens and a set of flying sword jade records. Yi Hao accepted the system's reward and asked Old Master Gu with the brocade box, "What is this?" This waste token is the identity token of a 4th grade alchemist issued by the Danzong Empire. With it, no matter where you go, others will have to respect you because you have the Danzong Empire behind you. As for the green pill beside it, it is a 5th grade spirit pill. Take it at a critical moment and it will have a miraculous effect on healing. Yi Hao took the brocade box and said respectfully, "Thank you, Old Master Gu." Old Master Gu patted Yi Hao on the shoulder and said, "It's nothing. The spirit pill is the reward of this conference. As for the identity of a 4th grade alchemist, you should have it. I believe that it won't be long before the world knows that the ancient demon realm has produced the youngest 4th grade alchemist in history." Old Master Gu, you flatter me. I'm not flattering you. What I said is the truth. Old Master Gu straightened his expression and said with a serious face, "Yi San Gao, I want to ask you something. Listen carefully." Yi Hao also straightened his expression and said seriously, "Old Master Gu, please speak." Wu Wenyong and Bingyi, who were standing at the side, also became serious. Old Master Gu said seriously, "I have never accepted a disciple in my life. However, seeing that your talent is extraordinary and we hit it off quite well, I want to accept you as my disciple today. Do you agree?" Yi Hao was caught off guard by this news and didn't know what to do. "San Gao, what are you waiting for? Grandpa Gu wants to accept you as his disciple." Wu Wenyong was about to say a few more words when he was interrupted by Old Master Gu. "I, Gu Xing, don't like to bully others. Don't say anything and let him decide for himself." "Yes, Grandpa Gu." Yi Hao fell into silence. He knew that Old Master Gu wanted to accept him as his disciple because he thought highly of him. If he had Old Master Gu as his master, it would be equivalent to having another backer. If it were any other alchemist, they would definitely agree with gratefully. Although there were many benefits to being Old Master Gu's disciple, he had the chaos system. He, Yi Hao, didn't need to be anyone's disciple. Therefore, he had already made a decision in his heart. Yi Hao looked at Old Master Gu and didn't know how to reject this. "I don't have such thoughts for now. Brother Yi, this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Do you know how many people want to be Grandpa Gu's disciple? If you miss this opportunity, it will be a huge loss." Wu Wenyong hurriedly said when he heard Xia Haoshuan's words. "Ha!" Old Master Gu didn't get angry when he heard Yi Hao's words. Instead, he laughed loudly. "Haha, good. Geniuses should have their own pride. Let's call each other brothers in the future. As your elder brother, I'll give you a gift for our first meeting." With that, a small alchemy furnace appeared in Old Master Gu's right hand. Yi Hao's face was full of awkwardness. Old Master Gu, after all, Old Master Gu was so old. It didn't seem too appropriate for them to call each other brothers. "This is the heaven and earth bathing furnace. After you drip your blood on it, it can change its size according to the owner's will. As an alchemist, how can you not have a decent alchemy furnace? This is for you. You can bring it with you and refine pills at any time. Don't reject it. If you continue to reject me, I'll lose face," Old Master Gu said to Xia Haoshuan. When Yi Hao heard Old Master Gu's words, he accepted the heaven and earth bathing furnace helplessly and thanked him. "Thank you, Old Master Gu." "You're welcome. Try it and see if the furnace is to your liking." "Okay." Yi Hao dripped a drop of blood into the heaven and earth bathing furnace. As soon as it entered, the drop of blood disappeared. Immediately after, Yi Hao felt that he had established an invisible connection with the furnace. Just as he thought this, the furnace in his hand suddenly enlarged and occupied the entire study room. Then, it shrunk again and became only the size of a fist. Chapter 1448. Yi Hao held the cauldron and said, "I was just worrying about not having a cauldron to refine pills. This heaven and earth bathing cauldron is indeed awesome. Thank you for giving it to me. Haha, little brother Yi, you're welcome. Old Man Gu smiled at Yi Hao. Wu Wenyong and Bing Yi were also very happy for Yi Hao. Yi Hao kept the cauldron and asked humbly, Old Man Gu, there's something I don't understand. Go ahead. I want to know if that 4th grade medicinal pill is a spiritual emperor level medicinal pill. Yi Hao directly asked the question in his heart. Old Man Gu looked at Yi Hao and asked the question that Wu Wenyong had asked before, Which empire are you from? Tianyuan Empire. No wonder. Old Man Gu said, Looks like we have to inform the empire to speed up the establishment of a branch in Tianyuan Empire. We can't let a genius like you be neglected. Old Man Gu continued, Tianyuan Empire hasn't established a branch of the Pill Sect Empire, so it's normal that you don't know the official classification of pills. In the past, pills were classified according to a cultivator's realm. For example, Spirit Heaven Realm pills, Spirit Emperor Realm pills, Spirit Emperor Realm pills, and so on. But in order to make it easier for people to differentiate and familiarize themselves with them, we divided the pills into 10 grades according to their effects. Therefore, Spirit Heaven Realm pills are called 3rd grade pills, Spirit Emperor Realm pills are called 4th grade pills, and so on. Yi Hao was puzzled. I see. Old Man Gu laughed and stroked his beard. I have a book on the basic knowledge of pills here. You can take a look. Yi Hao took the book and thanked him. Then, the 4 of them spent the rest of their time in the study. Lishan City, Lu Alley. A hunched old servant hurried to Lishan City's most famous Lu Alley. He looked at the private room on the 2nd floor and walked up, knocking on the door softly. Who is it? Why are you disturbing my mood? The old servant hurriedly said, Young master, it's me. Come in. Thus, the old servant pushed open the door. After entering, he immediately knelt on the ground with his head pressed against the ground. He didn't even dare to raise his head. Have you investigated the matter thoroughly? One of the rich men, who was holding a wine jug, asked lazily as he leaned back in his chair. Replying to young master, everything has been investigated thoroughly. Oh, tell me about it. The rich kid with 3 ancient swords on his back sat on the chair, sipping the tea in his hand with great interest. Yes. The old servant said respectfully. Then, he said, Yi Sangao is indeed in this city. Not long ago, he went to an underground black market auction and bought a peerless woman. Oh, what kind of peerless woman? A rich man's son, who had pulled himself away from the women on the bed, walked over with a guqin placed beside the bed. The rich kid with the wine jug said impatiently, Second brother, don't say anything. Let him continue. However, they bought the peerless woman, but they had a conflict with a local tycoon family at the auction. After that, Yi Sangao killed all the guards of the tycoon family. Then, Lishan City held an auction today. Yi Sangao teamed up with a family with the surname Wu to humiliate the tycoon family. I think the tycoon family is in need of people. Got it. A rich kid with a jade ring on his finger sat up lazily from the bed. He covered the sleeping women with blankets and came to the old servant, saying softly, You mean we can borrow the power of the tycoon family? That's right. The old servant lowered his head and stopped talking. Big brother? Is there a need to do this? That's right. It's just Yi Sangao. We'll know once we catch him and interrogate him. Big brother, what do you think? The rich kid with the jade ring looked at his 3 brothers and said, No matter what, we're still people of the Yueluan Empire. If we really do as you say, we'll definitely have a conflict with the local family. If word gets out, it won't be good for our Yueluan Lin family. Hearing this, the 3 rich kids fell into deep thought. The rich kid with the jade ring chuckled and said, Lead the way. We'll go and meet the tycoon. Then, the group left Ilyo Alley and went to the Yen family's residence in the center of the city. Lishan City Yen Residence. At this moment, Yen Jinru was sitting in the main hall with an ashen face. Many people stood beside him, trembling in fear. There was his son, Yen Chiji, the housekeeper, and many guards and servants in the residence. The housekeeper secretly glanced at Yen Jinru's ugly face. In the end, he braced himself and said, "Master, you can't. It's really inappropriate to attack the Wu residence now. Master, please reconsider." Although Yen Chiji was also afraid that Yen Jinru would suddenly fly into a rage, he still wanted the girl beside Yi Hao. Hence, he stood out and said, "Father, Yi Sangao and Wu Wenyong made our Yen family lose face in this alchemist convention. If we don't do anything, I'm afraid the other families in Lishan City will look down on our Yen family." When the housekeeper heard Yen Chiji's words, his heart sank and he silently retreated to the side. Yen Chiji saw that Yen Jinru's face was ashen, but he didn't show any signs of anger. Hence, he continued, "Father, if we don't strike first, do we really have to wait for Wu Wenyong to come and take over all of our Yen family's properties? Impossible." Yen Jinru slammed the teacup on the table onto the ground and said in exasperation, "Who does Wu Wenyong think he is? How dare he come to my Yen family and behave atrociously?" After slamming the teacup onto the ground, Yen Jinru finally felt a little better. Hence, he waved his hand to signal the housekeeper and the others to leave, leaving only him and Yen Chiji. Yen Chiji's thigh, which was crippled by Yi Sangao, had already recovered after the treatment of elixirs. He walked quickly to Yen Jinru's side and whispered, "But after all, we lost the bet. If Wu Wenyong and the others really come to our door, I'm afraid." Yen Jinru's face darkened and he said solemnly, "You're right. We must strike first to gain the upper hand." Yen Chiji smiled softly and said, "Father, I've already arranged everything. Right now, Wu Wenyong and the others are still at old Master Gu's place and haven't returned. We can kill our way into the Wu residence now and then lie in ambush there, waiting for them to come." Yen Jinru's eyes lit up. He touched his son's chubby face and said, "Hey, I didn't expect you to be so nimble. This is a good idea. Let's do it this way." "All right, then I'll give the order now." Yen Chiji had just taken 2 steps when he retreated. This was because 4 well-dressed rich young men had barged in with a group of stooped old servants. The leader of the group, a rich young man, turned the jade thumb ring in his hand and said, "Master Yen really has a good plan. I wonder if you can bring us brothers along?" Chapter 1449. Yen Jinru, who was sitting on the tea chair, narrowed his eyes and looked at them with vigilance. Yen Chiji said fiercely, "Who are you? How dare you barge into my Yen residence? You're just a small family. Do you really think you're some big shot? Do you believe that I can destroy you right now?" The rich man with the wine pot sat on the ground and said casually. When Yen Chiji heard this, his face showed a touch of anger, but before he could get angry, at this moment, the housekeeper of the Yen residence clutched his chest and stumbled to his father's side, whispering something to him. Yen Jinru quickly stood up and smiled as he walked to the rich man with the jade ring. He asked, "May I ask where you are from? What are you doing here? What? Is this how the Yen family treats guests? My son is a guest. He's serving tea and offering a seat. Father, this." Yen Chiji's face was full of confusion. "Go quickly." Yen Jinru's tone had a hint of anger. He then said apologetically, "Young masters, my son is insensible. Please don't take it to heart." "We won't." Then, the 4 rich men sat down, and the old servant stood behind them respectfully. The man with the jade ring looked at Yen Jinru's cautious face and said with a smile, "Let's introduce ourselves first. The 4 of us are from the Lin family of the Yueluan Empire. Some people call us the Lin family's 4 heroes. I'm Lin Xing. The one with the guqin is Lin Dan. The one with the ancient sword is Lin Jin. The one with the wine pot is Lin Cho. So you're from the Lin family of the Yueluan Empire. Please forgive me for not going out to meet you." After Yen Jinru heard the identity of the visitors, He didn't dare to be arrogant and quickly apologized. The Lin family was an existence that could stand shoulder to shoulder with the royal family in the Yueluan Empire. Although he hadn't heard of these four people, the Lin family was definitely not someone that the Yen family of Lishan City could offend. Master Yen, you don't have to be so polite. We're here to ask for a favor. Lin Xing sat arrogantly on the main seat and said slowly. What is it? Didn't you hear what I said just now? Lin Jin pulled out the ancient sword from his back and played with it carefully. Yen Jinru instantly felt a biting cold enveloping his entire body. He replied, I heard. Lin Dan gently stroked the guqin in her hand and smiled. Third brother, you've scared Patriarch Yen. Why don't you put away your broken thing? Humph. Lin Jin sheathed his sword and closed his eyes. Yen Jinru wiped the cold sweat from his forehead and asked doubtfully, It is my honor to have several young masters go with me. However, I am somewhat puzzled. Can you tell me the reason? Lin Xing smiled faintly and said, There's no harm in telling you. Right now, Yi Sangao, who is hiding in the Wu family, has some grudges with us. If we go to the Wu family directly and ask for him, I'm afraid the Wu family won't give him to us. That's why I came to discuss this matter with Master Yen. Yen Jinru understood, I see. Young masters, Yi Sangao also has some grudges with the Yen family. We're willing to help you. Lin Xing put down the teacup in his hand and stood up. He patted Yen Jinru's shoulder and said faintly, You're wrong. It should be us helping the Yen family. Yen Jinru's body stiffened and he didn't dare to move. He waited until the Lin family's four heroes had left with their people before he let out a deep breath. Yen Qi, who was standing behind Yen Jinru, could clearly see that his father's clothes were soaked in cold sweat. He couldn't help but ask, Father, who are these Lin family's four heroes? Why are you so serious? Remember, we can't offend the Lin family, much less those four people. Why? Because if they want to, the entire Yen family will disappear from Lishan City. Yen Jinru snorted angrily, leaving Yen Qi standing there in a daze. It was already late. Yi Hao and the other two bid farewell to old Master Gu and returned home. Along the way, Wu Wenyong looked enviously at the waist token on Yi Hao's waist. He wanted to take it and study it a few times, but he was beaten back by Bing Yi's cold gaze. Wu Wenyong looked at Bing Yi with some resentment and said, You're not married yet. Why are you protecting your own man? What nonsense are you talking about? Yi Hao and Bing Yi said in unison. Wu Wenyong laughed, Oh, you speak in sync. No wonder Grandpa Gu said you're a match made in heaven. Wu Wenyong, if you talk nonsense again, I won't forgive you. Bing Yi threatened. Come on. Do you think I'm afraid of a weak woman like you? Wu Wenyong retorted. Can you stop arguing? Yi Hao couldn't stand Wu Wenyong's despicable look. The three of them talked and laughed along the way to the Wu family's gate. At the gate, Yi Hao suddenly stopped. Wu Wenyong and Bing Yi didn't understand and asked, What's wrong? We're already at the gate. Why aren't we leaving? Yi Hao was stunned. He thought for a while and said, Nothing. Let's go in. Just as the three of them entered the Wu estate, two stooped old men suddenly appeared at the entrance. They quietly walked in and closed the vermilion door of the Wu estate. Yi Hao and the other two passed through the front yard and walked towards the backyard. Yi Hao looked at the empty backyard and asked curiously, Didn't you ask people to increase the security when you left? Why didn't we see anyone from the front yard? Yeah, what's going on? Bing Yi was also very confused. Wu Wenyong also put away his despicable look and looked serious. He had a bad feeling and said hurriedly, Oh no, something must have happened. No, I have to go and take a look. After saying that, Wu Wenyong went straight to the corner of the backyard. Yi Hao and Bing Yi followed closely behind. Wu Wenyong came to the room where his father lived and found that there were no guards at the door. He gently pushed the door open and tiptoed in. After entering the room, Wu Wenyong vaguely saw a figure through the curtains of the bed. He said, Father? No one responded. The room was still silent. Wu Wenyong wiped the sweat from his right palm. A dagger appeared in his hand and he gently pulled open the curtains. Before he could take a closer look, a skinny palm went straight for his face. Wu Wenyong subconsciously raised his arm to block. Boom! Wu Wenyong was directly thrown out of the room. At this moment, Yi Hao and Bing Yi arrived and helped Wu Wenyong up from the ground. Then, many stooped old servants and some guards appeared around them. Wu Wenyong looked at these uninvited guests who suddenly appeared in his house and asked in a deep voice, "You are from the Yen family. Where is Yen Jinru? Ask him to come out and see me." Suddenly, the crowd outside opened up a path. Then, 4 rich people in luxurious clothes, an elegant man with white hair and a fatty who weighed more than 100 pounds appeared in front of them. Chapter 1450. Yen Jinru, where's my father? What did you do to him? Wu Wenyong roared angrily when he saw the Yen father and son. Yen Jinru didn't say anything. Lin Xing, who was wearing a jade ring, looked at the 3 of them and asked, "Which one of you is Yi Sangao?" Yi Hao took a step forward and carefully observed the expressions of the Yen father and son. He said, "Yen Jinru, from the looks of it, you didn't invite these people, right? You're Yi Sangao? That's me. Who are you? Very good. Take him down." Lin Xing waved his hand. 2 old servants walked forward and pounced on Yi Hao. Bing Yi stood in front of Yi Hao, protecting him. She looked at the 2 old servants coldly. "Oh, what a pretty girl. Is this a scene of a beauty protecting a hero?" Lin Dan, who was hugging her zither, looked at Bing Yi with sparkling eyes and said flirtatiously. Yi Hao pulled Bing Yi behind him. Then, he grabbed the furious Wu Wenyong and asked coldly, "Who are you? I don't think I know you. Also, where did you hide Wu Wenyong's father? You don't know us, but I'm sure you know Lin Ying, right?" "Lin Ying?" Yi Hao was stunned. He asked, "You're from the Lin family of Yueluan?" Now, Yi Hao finally knew who these people in front of him were. "So, you killed Lin Ying?" Lin Xing waved his hand and asked the old servants to leave. "That's right." Yi Hao nodded and didn't deny it. Then, "Do you know that Lin Ying is from the Lin family of Yueluan? Even if he's the son of a lowly concubine, he's not someone you can kill as you wish. Moreover, you ruined our plan. So, you have to come with us today." "What if I don't?" "That's not up to you." Lin Jin, who had 3 ancient swords on his back, pulled out a slender ancient sword and stabbed it at Yi Hao. Yi Hao waved his right hand and a fiery red sword appeared in his hand. He tiptoed and met the attack head-on. The 2 of them clashed. Lin Jin retreated dozens of steps, while Yi Hao did not move at all. Yi Hao brandished his sword and pointed at Lin Xing. "Hand over the head of the Wu clan and I'll spare your lives." "Interesting." Lin Xing led everyone to the side, leaving the stage to the 3 heroes of the Lin family and Yi Hao. Bing Yi also silently pulled Wu Wenyong back. Lin Jin, who had returned with a sword, stood in front of Yi Hao. Lin Dan and Lin Chou, who were holding a guqin and a jug of wine, stood on his left and right. Lin Jin pulled out another ancient sword of the same length and held it in his hand. Then, he bit the last ancient sword in his mouth and said in a low voice, "I said, even if you broke through to the 3rd-level Spirit Emperor, you still don't have the strength to challenge us. It's not too late to beg for mercy." Lin Dan sat cross-legged and opened the cloth bag on his back. He placed the zither in front of his chest and said, "That's right. If you give me that beautiful little girl beside you, I can consider sparing your life." Burp. Lin Chou burped and said somewhat drunkenly, "Why are you talking so much to him? Just cripple him and take him away." After saying that, the aura of the 3 5th-level Spirit Emperors soared to the sky. Yi Hao held the Wu Dao sword tightly, his face a little serious. Wu Wenyong and Bing Yi, who were behind him, were very worried. Wu Wenyong did not expect that there would be 3 5th-level Spirit Emperors among these people. Bing Yi, who was beside him, held a jade pendant in her hand with some hesitation. Her face was uncertain. "You're just a 5th-level spirit emperor. You want me to beg for mercy? You're dreaming." Yi Hao laughed loudly. He waved his long sword, and 2 fire phoenixes with burning flames slowly rose from behind him and went straight for Lin Jin. Lin Jin laughed and said in a low voice, "Third sword flowing cloud cut." Then, one after another, the sword light with Gang Qi went straight for the fire phoenix's phantoms. At the same time, Lin Dan's zither played slightly, suppressing Yi Hao's cultivation. Lin Cho held a wine pot in his hand and staggered in front of Yi Hao. He threw out a powerful punch, and at the same time, his other fist also set off a terrifying force, ready to fight Yi Hao in close combat. At this time, in the backyard of the Wu family, a tall and powerful man was shuttling through the rooms, as if he was looking for something. Suddenly, 2 beams of light shot out from his eyes and went straight to a dilapidated house not far away. The guards at the door of the dilapidated house only saw a tall black shadow flash in front of them. Then, they saw nothing and fell straight to the ground. The people in the room heard the noise and hurriedly ran out, but they did not know that what awaited them was death. After the tall and mighty man dealt with all the guards, he found an unconscious old man who was as thin as a match on the bed in the room. The moment the tall and powerful man saw the old man, the corners of his mouth curled up, revealing a brilliant smile. In the backyard, Yi Hao fought with Lin Jin for dozens of rounds with grand sword moves, but there was no clear winner. Lin Xing's expression couldn't help but darken when he saw this. After all, Lin Dan and Lin Cho were assisting from the side. Even so, Lin Jin still couldn't take down Yi Hao. One could imagine just how terrifying Yi Hao's strength was. Yan Jinru stood to the side and wanted to remind him, but he was afraid of angering Lin Xing, so he kept quiet. His son, Yan Qiji, stood calmly in the same place. But under this calmness, there was a trace of deep unwillingness. This was because he had long regarded Bingyi as his woman. Now, someone wanted to snatch her away from him, but he was no match for this person. How could he be willing to accept this? But even if he was unwilling, he could only hide it deeply. He did not forget his father's words. Yi Hao pushed Lin Jin away with his sword and took Lin Chao's palm head-on, waving his left hand. Lin Dan's face turned cold and she shouted angrily, "It's just a small trick. What can you do to me?" Lin Dan's palm slammed heavily on the ground. The guqin flipped up, its back facing the flying sword. Dong dong dong. Yi Hao's palm landed on the back of the guqin. Lin Dan flipped the guqin back and mocked, "I advise you to stop struggling. You are no match for me." Yi Hao smiled disdainfully. "Oh, is that so?" Suddenly, a cold glint appeared in Lin Dan's eyes. "Oh no!" Lin Dan exclaimed, directly using the guqin in her hand to block. The weapon in Yi Hao's hand suddenly flew out, slashing across the strings of the guqin, and finally returned to Yi Hao's hand. Yi Hao said disdainfully, "You're carrying a broken guqin everywhere you go. You really think you're a performer?" Hearing this, Lin Dan looked at the guqin with 4 broken strings and flew into a rage. "Good," Lin Xing said, "I really underestimated you. But I won't waste any more time. All of you, kneel down. Otherwise, old Master Wu will die. Chapter 1451. Lin Xing saw that the battle was in a stalemate, and Yi Hao seemed to be getting braver as he fought. Hence, he listened to Yan Jinru's suggestion and brought out his trump card, Old Master Wu. Originally, when they joined forces with Yan Jinru to attack the Wu family, they wanted to kill the unconscious old man who was lying on the sickbed. However, Yan Jinru dissuaded them, saying that it was more useful to keep him alive than to kill him. Now, it seemed that it was true. Lin Xing clapped his hands and said, "Go, bring that old man here." Yes. An old servant received the order and left immediately. At this moment, Lin Dan and his 2 brothers all returned behind Lin Xing. Lin Xing looked at Yi Hao and the other 2 with a smile and said, "What, Did you not take my words to heart? I said, kneel down, or I will immediately order people to kill old Master Wu. You, despicable! Bingy was so angry that her face turned green. Just as she was about to crush the jade pendant in her hand, she heard the sound of someone kneeling down. Turning her head, she saw Wu Wenyong kneeling on the ground with a twisted face. His eyes were filled with anger and helplessness. Seeing this, Bing Yi silently put away the jade pendant. Haha, that's more like it. That's right. You're quite sensible, kid. However, some people are still unwilling to cooperate. I think those people don't want old Master Wu to live. Mocking laughter rang out from behind Lin Xing. The Lin's 4 heroes were also smiling as they looked at Yi Hao, who had a dark expression and was silent. Yi Hao sighed helplessly. Dragging the long sword in his hand, he walked to Wu Wenyong's side. Bingyi looked at him, not knowing what to do. Clearly, she didn't expect the other party to use such a despicable method. Yi Hao gave her a look, telling her not to worry. Then, he patted Wu Wenyong's shoulder and said, "You know that even if we all put down our weapons and kneel down, they won't let us go." The tears in Wu Wenyong's eyes fell. He choked and said, "I know, but if I don't kneel, my father will die immediately." Yi Hao squatted down and patted Wu Wenyong's shoulder. He squeezed out a smile and said, "Wu Wenyong, I was right about you." Wu Wenyong didn't dare to raise his head to meet Yi Hao's eyes. He only choked and said, "Third High, I don't blame anyone for the Wu family's predicament today. However, I can't implicate you and Bingy. Later, find a chance to slip away. I will cover for you." "Are you kidding me? Half of the people here are here for me. Besides, I still owe you money. If something really happens to you, who am I going to look for to pay the money?" But, no buts. Yi Hao stood up and faced the Lin's 4 heroes, Yan Jinru, and the others. Under everyone's gaze, his body slowly leaned down. "Haha, that's right. That's how it should be. That's right. Kneel down. Since you've offended the Lin clan, you won't be able to escape. If you knew this would happen, you wouldn't have done it in the first place. Even if it's a dog of our Lin clan, you can't kill it as you please. Trash." Lin Xing and the others laughed mockingly again. Wu Wenyong looked up in disbelief at Yi Hao, who was slowly leaning down. However, what Wu Wenyong didn't notice was that Yi Hao took out an array flag and placed it in his hand. Bingyi's gaze was complicated. In the end, he sighed and slowly leaned down. Lin Xing looked at Yi Hao, who was kneeling on one knee, and said, "Trash, you're trash. Hurry up and kneel down. Kneel down with both knees." Yi Hao's lips curled up and he smiled evilly. "Heh, who said I'm going to kneel? Ghost Array Blue Moon." After that, Yi Hao directly inserted the array flag in his hand into the ground. Then, with Yi Hao as the center, a huge spiritual array spread out and enveloped everyone present. Luckily, he was bored these days and learned a few arrays. It was just nice to use them now. "This is?" Lin Xing looked at the huge full moon above his head and was a little confused. Then, he saw the old servant and the guards behind him take out their weapons and start fighting. He couldn't help but wake up quickly and said, "Oh no, it's a ghost array. Use your spiritual energy to protect yourself and stay awake." Hearing this, the 3 heroes of the Lin family, Yan Jinru, and some guards beside him quickly woke up. Yan Jinru looked at Yan Qiji, who was smiling at him foolishly, and slapped him directly. Yan Qiji suddenly woke up and looked at his father blankly. Yan Jinru didn't want to explain too much. He asked, "Young master, why don't I see Yi Sangao and the others? Did they run away?" "They can't run away," Lin Xing explained. "Although this ghost array is very confusing, the eye of the array is the person who set it up. If the person who set it up leaves, the array will automatically be undone. Now that the full moon is in the sky and the array hasn't dissipated, it means that Yi Sangao and the others must be in this array." Then, could Wu Wenyong and the others have run away? Lin Xing didn't answer. Instead, he shouted to the surroundings, I didn't expect you to be able to set up a ghost array. However, don't think that I don't know where you are if you don't speak. If you don't come out, I will let people slowly cripple old Master Wu's limbs until you appear." On the other side of the array, Wu Wenyong and Bingy were stunned. They saw a lot of fog suddenly appear in the courtyard, and then they couldn't see Lin Xing and the others. Yi Hao explained to the two, "Don't worry, this is the array I set up. They won't be able to find us for a while." Wu Wenyong and Bingy were relieved. But then Lin Xing's words made Wu Wenyong's heart hang in the air. "Brother Sangao, I want to save my father. Tell me where they are, and I will go find them." Yi Hao didn't speak. Instead, he stood up straight. "I will count to 3. If you don't show up, I will cripple one of old Master's hands." 1. "Brother Sangao, you can't leave him in the lurch." Wu Wenyong anxiously grabbed Yi Hao's shoulder. 2. "Yi Sangao, didn't you hear? He wants to chop off my father's hand. My father has a hidden disease and can't take it." 3. "Do it." Before Lin Xing finished speaking, Yi Hao waved his hand and said in a deep voice, "Do it? Lin family, you think you can threaten me? Don't overestimate yourself. Where is Little Overlord Zhou Tong?" "Little Overlord Zhou Tong is here." Suddenly, a long spear flashing with green light flew down from the sky and stabbed into the ground, creating a huge crater. At the end of the long spear stood a tall and mighty man. The man was carrying an unconscious old man who was as thin as firewood. The long spear landed on the ground. The dust and fog dispersed. Yi Hao, Lin Xing and the others met again. The mighty man jumped down from the long spear and handed the old man to the shocked Wu Wenyong. He pulled out the flowing green spear from the ground and stared at Lin Xing and the others. He said coldly, "With me, Zhou Tong, here, don't even think about hurting my master." Then, the aura of a 6th-level spirit emperor soared into the sky. Chapter 1452. Lin Xing and the others' faces froze. A 6th-level spirit emperor. Where did this guy come from? How could Yi Sangao have such a powerful person by his side? Why wasn't there any news before? Wu Wenyong looked at the skinny old man in his arms, and could no longer hold back his tears. Bingy was the first to stand up from the ground. He came to Yi Hao's side and asked coldly, "So you weren't going to kneel? Then why didn't you tell me?" Yi Hao laughed and said, "How could I kneel to such a despicable person? But I didn't expect you to be even more straightforward than me and kneel down directly." "You!" Bingy angrily raised his fist and punched Yi Hao's shoulder. Wu Wenyong stopped crying and put his unconscious father aside. He came to Yi Hao's side and was about to kneel again when Yi Hao stopped him. "You don't have to do this between us. We are brothers, aren't we?" Wu Wenyong's eyes were wet again and he smiled. "That's right, we are brothers." Yi Hao patted his shoulder and said, "Don't worry, we won't die today. After all, we still have to go to the Yen clan to collect the debt." "Okay." Wu Wenyong responded and stood to the side. Bingy looked at Zhou Tong, who was holding the flowing water-green heavy spear, and asked in confusion, "Who is this person?" Yi Hao looked at Zhou Tong and thought back to when he first entered the Wu Manor. At that time, he felt that something was wrong in the Wu Manor. So, he used a general summoning token rewarded by the system to summon a general and let him wait outside the Wu Manor in case of any accident. To be honest, he didn't expect that the general he summoned this time was the 87th hero of Liangshan in the water margin, Zhou Tong, nicknamed Sky Star. Because Zhou Tong's appearance was similar to the overlord of Western Chu, Xiang Yu, people called him Little Overlord. After learning that Wu Wenyong's father had been imprisoned by Lin Xing and the others, he had sent a sound transmission to Zhou Tong, asking him to rescue Old Man Wu. That was why he had the confidence to not kneel to a despicable and shameless villain like Lin Xing. Yi Hao explained the whole story, and Bingy and Wu Wenyong finally understood. At the same time, the two of them began to suspect Yi Hao's identity. After all, a 6th-level Spirit Emperor bodyguard was not rare. Yi Hao's identity must not be simple to have such a powerful bodyguard by his side. Yi Hao held his sword with one hand and looked at the solemn expressions of Lin Xing and the others. He laughed and said, "How about it? Do you still want me to kneel down now?" Finished speaking, Zhou Tong's aura was fully displayed. Some of the guards with lower cultivation could not withstand Zhou Tong's tyrannical aura and directly knelt on the ground with a plop. Even with the Yen father and son's stature, they were still somewhat unable to bear it at this moment. They looked somewhat hesitantly at Lin Xing, who had not made a move all this while. Lin Dan, who was holding his zither, thought for a moment and said, "Big brother, Yi Sangao is already not easy to deal with. Now that there is another 6th-level Spirit Emperor, I'm afraid." "That's right, big brother. Why don't we retreat first?" Although Lin Cho was holding a jug of wine, he was not drunk at all. Instead, he was very sober. Although Lin Jin, who was holding his ancient sword, did not say anything, he silently agreed. After Lin Xing thought for a while, he sighed and said, "Fine, we'll let him go for now. When we go to the Qing Mountain Imperial City and find Big Brother Lin, we'll take revenge on this brat." "That's good." The 3 heroes of the Lin clan all agreed. Lin Xing took a deep breath and said loudly, "Yi Sangao, consider yourself lucky today. I'll let you live. When we meet again in the future, you won't be so lucky." "Young master, this..." Yen Jinru heard that the 4 heroes of the Lin clan were about to leave, and his expression was somewhat flustered. He hurriedly said, "Young master, if we don't kill Yi Sangao today, then everything we've done today will have been in vain." Lin Xing stared at him and sneered, "Heh, you're afraid that after we leave, Yi Sangao will come to settle the score with you. Please help, young master." Yen Jinru lowered his head and knelt in front of Lin Xing. Lin Xing was right. Yi Sangao was still somewhat afraid of the 4 heroes of the Lin clan, but once they left, based on what he had done today, the Yen clan would definitely die without a burial ground. Actually, this was not his fault, because no one expected Yi Hao to have such a powerful trump card. Lin Xing looked at Yen Jinru, who was kneeling on the ground, and said coldly, "This is between you and the Wu clan. What does it have to do with me?" After speaking, the 4 heroes of the Lin clan were about to leave. Yen Jinru hurriedly hugged Lin Xing's leg and begged. Lin Cho, who was at the side, directly kicked Yen Jinru and said angrily, "A good dog doesn't block the way. Get lost." "Father!" Yen Qiji dragged his fat body and ran to Yen Jinru's side. Lin Xing and the other 3 waved their sleeves and were about to leave with their people when suddenly, a green shadow whizzed past them. The flowing water-green heavy spear, which was completely green, was quietly inserted not far in front of them. Lin Xing turned his head and looked at Zhou Tong, who was waving his spear, and asked, "What is the meaning of this?" Zhou Tong silently retreated to the side. Yi Hao, who was holding the Wu Dao sword, walked forward and said with a smile, "I said, did I allow you to leave?" When these words came out, everyone was stunned. Lin Xing was stunned at first, but then he reacted and scolded jokingly, "Who do you think you are to dare block our way? Let me tell you, the Lin clan of Full Moon Kingdom is not someone you can offend." "Yi Sangao, are you tired of living?" Lin Dan said coldly with his hands on the zither strings. The Lin clan of Full Moon Kingdom has a very high status even in the entire ancient demon realm. I will forgive your ignorance this time. You can go and ask around and then think about whether or not you are seeking your own death. Lin Cho threw the wine jug in his hand in front of Yi Hao and said word by word, "Get out of the way, or die." Lin Jinru pulled out the 3 ancient swords that had just been sheathed. Yi Hao picked his ear impatiently and said, "So what if you are from the Lin clan of Full Moon Kingdom? If I was really afraid, how could I have killed Lin Ying? If I was really afraid, shouldn't I hand over the sword in my hand with both hands and beg you to spare my life?" Lin Xing grabbed the angry Lin Cho and said faintly, "I already said that Lin Ying is just a trash born of a lowly servant, a lowly bastard. How can he be compared to the four of us? The four of us are of noble Lin clan blood. Lin Ying can't compare. Aren't you all from the Lin clan? Where does your sense of superiority come from? You are courting death. Lin Xing could no longer hold back his anger. He took off the jade ring on his finger and thrust his palm forward. Unfortunately, before his palm could touch Yi Hao, he was sent flying by a huge force. He smashed through several walls before stopping. Big brother! Yi Hao looked at the remaining three heroes with a smile and said, I said, if I don't let you go, you can't leave, even if you are from the Lin clan of Full Moon Kingdom. You are courting death, go! Hearing this, the hunchbacked old men behind them rushed towards Yi Hao and Lin Xing. Chapter 1453. As the hunchbacked old man rushed forward, the three heroes of the Lin family frantically retreated and quickly left everyone's field of vision. Yi Hao sneered and ordered, Zhou Tong, I'll leave this to you. Treat them well. Yes. Zhou Tong waved his right hand, and the flowing water-green heavy spear whizzed back into his hand. With the spear in hand, Zhou Tong was like a god descending from heaven. With a sweep of the spear, no one was a match for him. Soon, the guards and hunchbacked old man that swarmed forward quietly lay in a pool of blood, unable to move. Only the trembling father and son of the Yen family were left hugging each other for warmth, trying to expel the coldness from their bodies. The three heroes of the Lin family frantically retreated, and quickly found Lin Xing coughing in a pile of rubble. Then the four brothers quickly walked through the backyard of the Wu family, but no matter how they walked, they couldn't get out of the backyard. What's going on? Didn't we just come here? Why haven't we gotten out after so long? What's going on? After going around in circles, it feels like we're back at the beginning? At this time, a young man with a red sword appeared in the corner of their eyes. The young man slowly walked in front of them and grinned. Did you forget? You're still in my ghost boundary. Lin Xing looked up at the full moon in the sky. They were indeed still in the ghost boundary. What do you want? Lin Xing asked coldly, clutching his aching chest. Yi Hao shrugged and said, I don't want anything. I just want to know why you want to kill me so badly. According to your tone, a mere Lin Ying isn't worth it. Why isn't it worth it? Lin Cho stood out and said, even if Lin Ying is a dog of the Lin family, you can't kill him as you wish. You have to pay the price. Yi Hao laughed and suddenly appeared in front of Lin Cho. He slapped him away and laughed, No, you're not telling the truth. Lin Xing led the two behind him and quickly retreated. After putting some distance between them, he said, The 6th-level Spirit Emperor isn't here. He's alone. Let's take him down together and escape. Okay. Therefore, the Lin's four heroes took up 4 different positions and began to attack Yi Hao. Yi Hao smiled faintly. He held the Mai Dao sword and muttered, That's good. I'll use you guys to test this sword technique that I just comprehended. On the other side, Bing Yi looked at Yi Hao's back and said worriedly, San Gao went to chase after those 4 people. Will they be okay? After all, those 4 people are at the 5th level of the Spirit Emperor realm. I won't. Holding the flowing water-green deep spear, Zhou Tong tossed the Yen father and son in front of Wu Wenyong as if they were trash. In a low voice, he said, Those 4 people have been scared out of their wits by me. Right now, they only want to end the battle as quickly as possible. Normally, Lord might not be a match for them, but now that may not be the case. Zhou Tong looked at Bingyi and the other man with a trace of worry and said, Don't worry, the Lord is not far from us. If you really want to harm the Lord, you'll have to ask the spear in my hand for permission. Hearing this, Bingyi and the other 2 finally relaxed. Wu Wenyong looked at the Yen father and son who were cowering and trembling at the side. The Yen father and son were as if struck by lightning. Yen Jinru hurriedly ran to Wu Wenyong's side and begged for mercy. Nephew, on the account that your father and I are sworn brothers, please let us go this time. Yes, Brother Wu, we grew up together. Please let us go. Yen Qiji hurriedly ran over and tried to play the emotional card with Wu Wenyong. Wu Wenyong looked at them indifferently and said, "You still know that you are sworn brothers with my father. Then, doesn't your conscience hurt when you treat him like this? And you?" Wu Wenyong pointed at Yen Qiji and said angrily, "I, Wu Wenyong, have never had a brother like you who only knows how to backstab his own brother. Nephew, we were also forced to do so." "That's right, Brother Wu. If we didn't cooperate, those 4 people would kill our entire family. Wenyong, on the account of the past friendship between our families, let us go. We know we were wrong." The Yen father and son hugged Wu Wenyong's thigh and begged bitterly. Wu Wenyong looked at the 2 crying faces and his heart softened. Then, he said, "It's no use begging me. You have to ask Brother Yi first." The Yen father and son saw hope and hurriedly said, "It's okay. You have a good relationship with Yi Sangao. If you go and plead with him, he will definitely agree. As long as you let us go, we will agree to anything." "Really?" Yes. Okay." Wu Wenyong agreed helplessly. Then, he looked at his unconscious father and thought, "Father, I have tried my best." In Wu Wenyong's heart, he would have a battle with the Yen family sooner or later. Moreover, he had been preparing for that battle for a long time and had raised many men of sacrifice. However, those men of sacrifice were currently outside the city and would only be taken out at the critical moment. However, he didn't expect that the arrival of the Lin family's 4 heroes would bring forward the critical moment. If it wasn't for Yi Sangao's help today, the one kneeling on the ground and begging for mercy would be Wu Wenyong. Thinking of this, Wu Wenyong felt even more grateful to the young man who was fighting fiercely at the moment. The third move, Phoenix Movement. 3 fire phoenixes covered in flames soared into the sky and ran in 3 different directions. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for using the third move of the Phoenix Dance of the 9 Heavens. The reward is a fragment of the Void Mirror. After Yi Hao used the Phoenix Movement, he rushed towards Lin Cho, who was the weakest. Lin Cho saw that Yi Hao abandoned the other 3 and rushed towards him and couldn't help but panic. After his 2 moves were neutralized by Yi Hao, he panicked. However, Yi Hao wouldn't give him time to recover. The Wu Dao sword in his hand glowed red and the sword light shot out. When the 3 of them got rid of the fire phoenixes and arrived, Lin Cho was already covered in injuries. "Roar, get out of my way!" Lin Jin's 3 ancient swords came out and swung away Yi Hao's attack to save Lin Cho. The other 2 didn't stay idle and attacked Yi Hao from the front and back. Yi Hao didn't advance in the face of the 2's joint attack. Instead, he retreated and punched out a powerful punch that forced the heavily injured Lin Xing to retreat. The Wu Dao sword in his right hand carried Yi Hao and suddenly appeared behind Lin Dan. The corner of Yi Hao's mouth rose. He held the Wu Dao sword in a reverse grip and forcefully stabbed backwards. Lin Dan, who reacted, hurriedly used his zither to block in front of him. The sharp Wu Dao sword easily pierced through his most trusted zither and then his body. Yi Hao turned around and pulled out his sword. With a swing of his sword, a large head was held in his hand. Ding dong, congratulations to the host for killing a 5th-level Spirit Emperor. Congratulations to the host for gaining 350,000 experience points. Chapter 1454. Under the shocked gazes of Lin Xing and the others, Yi Hao smiled and threw the head in his hand at their feet. Lin Cho knelt down in tears, holding the head in his arms and blaming himself deeply. Lin Jin looked with some fear at the eerily smiling Yi Hao and murmured, "Demon, you are a demon." As the leader of the 4, Lin Xing suppressed his grief and anger and asked, "What do you want?" Yi Hao stabbed his sword into the ground and held it with both hands. "Didn't I say? I want to know why you want to kill me. Lining is a reason, but not an absolute reason. You want to know, right? Fine, but you have to agree to one condition. Speak. After I tell you, you let the 3 of us leave safely." "Okay." Lin Xing looked at him suspiciously and thought. He agreed so readily. Could it be a trap? Lin Jin choked out, "Big brother, second brother is dead." Lin Xing glanced at Lin Cho, who was sitting on the ground in pain. He put on the jade ring he had been holding in his hand and said, "Fine, I will tell you. Back in the Earth-Lung mountain range, was there a girl called Yi with you?" Yi Hao thought and asked, "You are looking for her?" "Yes." "Why?" Lin Xing hesitated, not knowing if he should say it. Yi Hao sneered, pulled out his sword and swung. Lin Cho lay on the ground and cried out in pain. His right arm had already rolled down to the ground from the air. "You!" Lin Xing looked in shock at Yi Hao. Lin Jin was still repeating the same words. Yi Hao looked at him with amusement. "You are really rich children raised in a greenhouse. You don't know how cruel the world is. Do you think you have the right to talk terms with me now?" Lin Xing looked at the tall figure behind Yi Hao who kept approaching. He swallowed his saliva and said, "Okay, I'll tell you. That woman has something that belongs to our Lin family. We must get it back." "It has to do with her master?" "You know this too. Go on, what is it?" "I don't know. Our mission is to capture that woman alive. As for what it is, we really don't know." Yi Hao stared at him coldly with his sword in hand. Lin Xing immediately panicked and hurriedly said, "I really don't know. How could us juniors know about such confidential matters?" Yi Hao tried again, but the answer was still the same. He waved his sleeve and put away the ghost formation before saying, "I won't kill you, leave." Hearing this, Lin Xing and Lin Jin hurriedly helped up Lin Cho, who was sitting on the ground, and ran into the distance. Yi Hao counted to 3 in his heart and said in a deep voice, "Zhou Tong." "Yes." Suddenly, a green spear pierced through the 3 men's hearts. The 3 men lay quietly in a pool of blood with their eyes wide open. Zhou Tong silently came to the side of the 3 and withdrew his spear. Yi Hao also came over. He looked at the 3 men's widened eyes and said to himself, "I promised to let you go, but Zhou Tong didn't. Let you go. Wait for you to bring people to kill me? Yuelun Lin family, don't worry. I will definitely be there as a guest. You can go in peace." Yi Hao put away his sword and ordered Zhou Tong, "Clean up the scene. Come to my room at midnight. There are some things I need you to do." "Yes, Lord." Yi Hao walked out of the backyard and came to Wu Wenyong and Lin Yi's side. He stretched. Seeing Yi Hao return safely, Bing Yi's hanging heart suddenly relaxed. She then asked, "Where are the 4 people?" "They ran away," Yi Hao said indifferently, "but you don't have to worry. They won't come looking for trouble again." "Thank you, Brother San Gao." Wu Wenyong cupped his hands towards Yi Hao. Yi Hao smiled and said, "Didn't I say that we are brothers? Why are you being so polite?" "San Gao, I have a favor to ask." "For them." Yi Hao pointed at the Yen father and son kneeling at the side and asked. "That's right." Wu Wenyong paused and then said, "They agreed to hand over all the Yen family's assets, leaving only 1 life. You really want to let these 2 people go? Did they betray your Wu family? Yen Jinru and my father were sworn brothers. Yen Qiji also grew up with me. In the end, I couldn't bear it. If my father was awake now, I believe he would support me." "Fine." Yi Hao waved his hand and came to the Yen father and son. He said, "Since you want to let them go, I won't say anything. I can promise to let you go." "Thank you, Master Yi." "Thank you, Master Yi." The Yen father and son bowed their heads. "Wait, don't thank me yet. You have to promise me one thing." "What is it?" the Yen father and son asked hesitantly. Yi Hao smiled and said, "It's very simple. Submit to me." This. Yen Qiji was a little hesitant. He wanted to live, but he wanted to live well. He didn't want to be someone's cow or horse. Yen Jinru quickly pulled his son aside and kowtowed. "We, the Yen father and son, are willing to submit to Master Yi. We only ask that Master Yi forgive us and spare us." "Good. Raise your heads." Hearing this, the Yen father and son raised their heads. Then 2 balls of earth fiend black chi entered their minds. What did you do to us? Yen Qiji looked at Yi Hao in horror and asked. Yi Hao smiled and then slapped Yen Qiji's fat face. Yen Qiji was sent flying and then fainted. Yen Jinru hurriedly lowered his head. His back was covered in cold sweat. Yi Hao squatted down and said with a smile, "Don't worry. As long as you don't betray me, this thing won't do you any harm. Also, if you do this again, you won't just be fainting." "I know. Thank you, Master Yi." Yi Hao smiled. He seemed to have thought of something and said, "Oh right, there's one more thing I forgot to tell you. Please speak, Master. Tell your fat son to give up on Bingy. If I find out again, you know what to do." Hearing this, Bingy, who was standing aside, suddenly blushed. Yen Jinru's body trembled and he said shakily, "Yes, I understand. Thank you for your reminder." Yi Hao stood up and escorted old Master Wu back to his room with Bingy and Wu Wenyong. At the door of the room, Yi Hao said to Wu Wenyong, "Brother Wu, I have already let them go. I hope you won't regret it." "I won't." Wu Wenyong leaned on the railing and said tiredly, "Although it's not too much for them to die, and I have thought of letting them die, when I think of my childhood, I still can't bear it." Chapter 1455. Yi Hao also leaned on the railing and said, "I'm going to let your Wu family take over all of the Yen family's businesses. Then, I'll let the Yen father and son take care of the Wu family's businesses for you. I'll let your Wu family become the wealthiest family in the entire Li Mountain City." Wu Wenyong smiled and asked, "Why are you helping me?" Yi Hao looked at the dark sky and said, "There's no reason to help people. Reviving the family has always been your dream. Take this as a thank you for helping me at the auction. I only hope that when I'm in trouble in the future, there will be a few people by my side." Hearing this, Wu Wenyong, who was leaning on the railing, and Bingy, who was standing at the side, fell into deep thought. Sangao, my good brother, where are you?" Hearing this familiar voice, Yi Hao suddenly sat up and asked curiously, "Isn't this Old Gu's voice?" Old Gu came to Yi Hao's side and carefully looked at Sangao. He asked, "Good brother, how are you? Are you okay? I heard that Yen Jinru brought people to attack the Wu residence, so I immediately rushed over. This Yen Jinru is getting more and more unscrupulous. No, I can't let him off so easily this time." Yi Hao looked at old Master Gu's anxious expression and felt helpless. After all, being called a brother by such an old man still made him feel a little uncomfortable. However, it was rare for old Gu to be so concerned about him. He couldn't help but smile and said, "Old Gu, I'm fine. Aren't I fine?" That's good. Where's that despicable Yen Jinru? I'm going to find him." "Old Gu, no need to find him. It's all settled." "Settled? How did you settle it? Quickly tell me." Then, old Master Gu took Yi Hao for a stroll in the backyard of the Wu residence. Looking at the two people's backs, Wu Wenyong and Bingy awkwardly withdrew their hands. The two of them looked at each other and smiled. Then, they went back to their rooms to rest. At night, the waning moon hung high in the sky. Yi Hao pushed open the door with a tired face. After old Master Gu arrived, he pulled him aside and chatted for a long time, refusing to let him go no matter what. He had just sent old Master Gu off and almost missed the time. Yi Hao sat on the bed. Zhou Tong, who had been waiting for a long time, walked out from the corner and knelt on one knee, quietly listening to Yi Hao's orders. It wasn't until dawn that a black figure left the Wu estate. Following this, 3 more black figures left Lishan City and headed west. If they kept heading west, they would soon reach the Qingshan Empire's capital, the Qingshan Imperial City. In the following half a month, Yi Hao was in no hurry to leave Lishan City. While helping Wu Wenyong organize the Yen family's businesses in Lishan City, he sought out old Gu to learn about alchemy. The rare calmness was mixed with a trace of enrichment. However, this half a month wasn't all good news. There was also bad news. The head of the Wu family, Wu Wenyong's father, had passed away. Facing this news, Yi Hao was half happy and half worried. He was worried that his father's death would be a huge blow to Wu Wenyong. Without a period of recuperation, it would be difficult for him to recover. He was happy that he could finally carry out his plan of dragging Wu Wenyong along to the Qingshan imperial city. Yi Hao felt that there were still 2 months left. It was too boring to travel alone. Moreover, he was unfamiliar with the place and the people. At first, he wanted to drag Bingyi along. However, Bingyi was unwilling. He pestered her for a few days before she agreed. Then, he used the same method to deal with Wu Wenyong. However, Wu Wenyong was always thinking about his father and failed. Therefore, Yi Hao came to Wu Wenyong's room again today. Yi Hao had just entered. Before he could speak, Wu Wenyong said, "You don't have to say anything. I know what you're here for. I promise you that I'll accompany you to the Qingshan imperial city. Don't worry. I've already handed over the follow-up matters. I'll leave this place to the Yen father and son. There won't be any problems." Sigh. Yi Hao sighed. He poured himself a cup of tea and said, "Have you really thought this through? You've lived here for more than a decade." Wu Wenyong smiled bitterly and said, "I originally stayed in the Wu clan because of my father. That's why I wanted to revive the clan. Now that my father is gone, I have nothing to miss here." As he spoke, Wu Wenyong leaned on the table and choked with sobs. Yi Hao silently sat to the side and fell into deep thought. Qingshan Empire, Immortal Cloud Pavilion, Yuan Mu's mansion. As usual, Yuan Mu drank the wine brought by exiled immortal and directly spat it out. The masked man in black came to Yuan Mu's side while Mu Tao went out to see the guest out. Yuan Mu calmly asked, "How is it? Any news from there?" According to the report, Yi Hao has already arrived at Lishan City. "I know. Didn't he arrive a month ago? Is he still in Lishan City?" "Yes." Yuan Mu smiled and said, "I'm a bit curious. He actually stayed for a month. What did he do in Lishan City?" The man with the bronze mask said quickly, "He participated in an underground auction and bought a girl. Then, he had a conflict with the Yen family. Then, he helped the Wu family to win the alchemy competition. He seemed to have a special relationship with Gu Sheng. Then, he was ambushed by the Yen and Yuelun Lin families. Gu Sheng, Yuelun Lin clan. Interesting." Yuan Mu smiled and asked, "And then, what happened?" "This I don't know." "You don't know? Why?" "Because we found out that we weren't the only ones watching him. There was another group of people. However, they didn't look like they were from the ancient demon realm. Also, they weren't watching him, but the woman next to him." When Yuan Mu heard that they weren't from the ancient demon realm, his expression suddenly became serious. He asked, "You said that there is another force besides us. Have you been discovered?" "Have you been discovered?" The masked man firmly replied, "No. What should we do now?" "Call everyone back first. It doesn't matter if they're watching him or the woman next to him. At least his life isn't in danger for now." "Yes." The masked man was about to hide in the darkness again. Yuan Mu stopped him. "Wait, investigate the background of the woman beside him." "Yes." Not long after the masked man left, Mu Tao angrily walked in. He walked over to Yuan Mu, who was lost in thought, and helped Yuan Mu back to his room. Yuan Mu, who was sitting on the bed, carefully recalled the conversation. Suddenly, he felt that the development of the situation was beyond their expectations. Yuan Mu clenched his right hand and murmured, "It seems things aren't that simple. I need to ask for instructions." Chapter 1456. 2 months later, 3 guests arrived at the foot of Green Mountain Empire's Green Mountain. 2 men and 1 woman. The man on the left wore a light blue robe and held an ordinary folding fan in his hand. His peach blossom eyes were gazing at the towering, world-famous Green Mountain in a trance. The woman on the right wore a plain dress. Her exquisite appearance attracted the gazes of passers-by at the foot of the mountain. However, the woman's interest was not on the Green Mountain at all. Instead, she would occasionally stare at the young man beside her. The young man in the middle was even more handsome. He wore black clothes and looked at Green Mountain with his red eyes. "Wenyong, this is Green Mountain?" "That's right." The man holding the folding fan was none other than Wu Wenyong of Lishan City. Looking at the endless stream of people at the foot of the mountain, he said, "This is Green Mountain, and the royal city of Green Mountain, which has attracted the attention of all the people in the world, is built on this Green Mountain." "Isn't it just a city built on a mountain? What's there to see?" Bing Yi said in disdain. Along the way, Wu Wenyong was already used to being mocked by Bing Yi. He didn't mind and said, "That's because you haven't seen the magnificence and beauty of the Green Mountain Imperial City. You won't say that when you see it." "Bumpkin." Bing Yi rolled her eyes and said, "That's because you're ignorant. You definitely haven't seen a city floating in the air. It's much more magnificent than this Green Mountain Imperial City." "Is there really a city floating in the air without any support?" Yi Hao and Wu Wenyong looked at her doubtfully. "Of course there is. However, it's not here." After Bing Yi said that, her sparkling eyes suddenly dimmed. Yi Hao and Bing Yi were already used to this. After 2 months together, they had heard bits and pieces of Bing Yi's past. They could already feel that Bing Yi wasn't an ordinary person. However, in their hearts, Bing Yi was only their friend. They didn't care about her past or her identity. The capital of the Qingshan Empire, the Qingshan Imperial City, was built on top of a mountain. However, it wasn't a city built on top of a mountain like people had imagined. Instead, it used the 7 main peaks as pillars to build a huge city out of thin air. The energy supporting the operation of this huge city came from the spiritual sources buried under the 7 main peaks of Green Mountain. It was because of the constant supply of spiritual energy that the royal city of Green Mountain could stand at the top of Green Mountain, attracting the attention of everyone. Since the Heavenly Street meeting was about to take place, the number of people on Green Mountain increased by more than twice as much as usual. For this reason, the Qingshan Empire opened up 2 paths to the top of the mountain. Everyone could use the Qingyu Peak and Qingyin Peak to climb to the top of the mountain, then enter the Imperial City from the top of the mountain. The peak that Yi Hao and the other 2 climbed was the Green Jade Peak, one of the 7 main peaks of Green Mountain. The 3 of them entered the city after standing on top of the peak and enjoying the beautiful scenery of Green Mountain. The Green Mountain Imperial City was indeed the largest city in the Green Mountain Empire. Its prosperity was incomparable to that of Lishan City and New Tianyuan City. Among the 3 of them, Wu Wenyong was the only one who had been to the royal city of Green Mountain when he was a child. But he was too young to remember the layout and structure of the royal city clearly. As for the other 2, it was their first time here, so they were unfamiliar with the place and the people. Yi Hao suggested that they find a nearby inn and stay there for the time being. They should first find out where the registration for the Heavenly Street meeting was, and then make other plans. The 3 of them saw an inn on the street and walked in directly. They each asked for a room and went back to their own rooms to rest. In the past 2 months, Yi Hao had been receiving side tasks to improve himself, and Wu Wenyong and Bing Yi had been with him the whole time. Bing Yi had no cultivation and was weak, so she couldn't stand it. As a result, she fell asleep as soon as she lay down on the bed. Though Wu Wenyong had a cultivation, he didn't want to participate in this Heavenly Street meeting. He only wanted to accompany Yi Hao. He had made some progress after 2 months of hard work, but he was also exhausted, so he fell asleep early. Not long after Yi Hao lay down, there was a knock on the door. "Come in." Then, a waiter of the inn walked in. The waiter looked carefully at Yi Hao's appearance and asked, "Master, where are you from?" Yi Hao answered casually, "Country Emperor Yuan Tian, City Emperor Yuan Tian." The waiter hurriedly closed the door, knelt on the ground and said, "Greetings, young Emperor. Get up." "Yes." The waiter stood up and said, "Young Emperor, don't worry. I have already informed the commander. He will be here soon." "Got it." Yi Hao waved his hand and asked the waiter to leave first. Then, he waved his arms and 10 small flying swords flew out of his sleeve. Yi Hao took one of the flying swords and gently cut his finger. Then, he dripped a drop of blood on each flying sword. After doing all this, Yi Hao quietly watched the 10 flying swords slowly return to normal. Then, he put them away again. Feeding the swords with blood was something he learned from the flying sword Jade manual rewarded by the system. Using this method could greatly increase the strength of the flying sword. However, it needed to be fed once a day without interruption. Otherwise, all the previous efforts would be wasted. Although it was very troublesome, the effect was very obvious. Not long ago, he used these 10 flying swords to kill a 6th-level Spirit Emperor magical beast. Then, Yi Hao took out the universal bathing cauldron that Old Man Gu gave him. He closed his eyes and quietly activated the palm-sized cauldron to refine the medicinal herbs in the cauldron that had not been used up. Not long after, a golden level 4 perfect elixir flew into his hand. Yi Hao kept the elixir as a faint smile appeared on the corners of his mouth. In the past 2 months, although Yi Hao had been improving his cultivation, he did not fall behind in the cultivation of elixir. At first, Old Man Gu told him that as long as he continued to refine elixirs every day, with Yi Hao's talent, it would not take long for him to successfully refine level 5 elixirs. In fact, what Old Man Gu did not know was that it was even easier for him to improve his cultivation as an elixir master. As long as he continued to refine elixirs, he could gain elixir master experience points. It was only a matter of the number of breakthroughs. After refining the elixir, Yi Hao took out a spiritual stone and a flying sword. He kept carving arrays on the spiritual stone. Not long after, all 10 spiritual stones were engraved with arrays. After doing all this, Yi Hao let out a long breath. Flying sword, elixir refining, arrays, and swordsmanship. He had been practicing hard for the past 4 months. Compared to 2 months ago, he had made a qualitative leap. For this Heavenly Street convention, he could be said to have made full preparations. Suddenly, a figure flashed by Yi Hao's window. Then, a tall figure appeared in front of Yi Hao. The tall figure knelt on the low mountain and said in a deep voice, "Your subordinate greets the young emperor. Get up." Yi Hao waved his hand and asked, "You have been in the imperial city of Qingshan for a long time. How is the investigation going?" Hearing this, the tall figure raised his head. It was the little overlord Zhou Tong. Zhou Tong stood aside and said respectfully, "Young Emperor, I have inquired about the matter you asked." Chapter 1457. Yi Hao sat on the bed and asked, "Okay, then let me ask you the first thing. Is there a Yuan clan in the Green Mountain Imperial City?" "Yes, this clan is located on the Blue Fallen Peak, one of the 7 main peaks of the Green Mountain Empire. The Immortal Cloud Pavilion, one of the 7 major powers of the Green Mountain Empire, belongs to the Yuan clan. Originally, the pavilion master of the Immortal Cloud Pavilion was Yuan Quan, but Yuan Quan suddenly died a while ago, so the young pavilion master, Yuan Shu, became the pavilion master. He is now the leader of the Yuan clan." Yi Hao thought for a while and asked, "Is that banished immortal one of Yuan Shu's people?" "Yes." Yi Hao murmured, "Blue Fallen Peak, Immortal Cloud Pavilion, it seems like they are not easy to deal with." "Young Emperor, that may not be the case." Zhou Tong continued to speak based on the information he had gathered. "The Yuan family is not a monolithic entity. Although Yuan Shu has become the pavilion master, he is the son of a concubine and has never been favored by the elders in the pavilion. Those elders appear to be subservient to him, but in reality, they are secretly in contact with the eldest son of the Yuan family, Yuan Mu." "Yuan Mu!" Yes, Yuan Mu is the eldest son of the Yuan clan. Unfortunately, Yuan Mu suffers from an eye disease and has been blind since childhood. Therefore, he did not compete with Yuan Shu. However, I feel that this Yuan Mu can be used. Yi Hao thought for a while and said, "You are right, but the most important thing now is the Sky Street meeting. Let's put this aside for now. Do you have a clear understanding of the powers in the Green Mountain Imperial City?" "Yes, I do." Zhou Tong took out a map and explained, "There are 7 main peaks in the Green Mountain Imperial City, and correspondingly, there are 7 major clans. Each clan guards a spirit vein. The only difference is that the Ling clan, the head of the 7 clans, should not be called a clan, but a royal clan. In the past, the 7 clans all followed the royal clan. However, in recent years, the Green Mountain Emperor's health has been deteriorating, and the other clans have started to become restless. Based on the current situation, there are roughly 3 powers. The royal clan that occupies the Green Mountain Peak is a faction. The Yuan clan, the Yu clan of the Green Jade Peak, and the Han clan of the Green Sound Peak. These 3 clans are one faction, and the Yuan clan is the leader. The other faction is the Qingtian Peak's Huangfu clan, Qingqing Peak's Qing clan, and Qinghao Peak's Hao clan. These 3 clans are led by the Qing clan. So the Qingshan Empire is showing signs of chaos. Yi Hao was puzzled. He had not expected the Qingshan Empire to be so chaotic. Perhaps it was not a bad thing for the Tianyuan Empire. Although on the surface the Green Mountain Emperor is suppressing the situation and there is no chaos, the various clans have already begun to have conflicts in secret. Once the Green Mountain Emperor passes away, the entire Green Mountain Empire will descend into chaos. I understand. Yi Hao heaved a sigh of relief and asked, "Continue to keep an eye on these things. If there are any problems, report to me at any time." Zhou Tong looked at the calm Yi Hao and felt that he was different from 2 months ago. However, he could not tell what was different, so he asked, "Young Emperor, the weakest cultivators participating in the Heavenly Street Convention are at the 6th level of the Spirit Emperor realm. There might even be 8th level Spirit Emperors. What is your current cultivation?" Yi Hao looked at him with a smile and said, "Take a guess." Then Yi Hao released his aura. Zhou Tong's expression changed and he immediately knelt down. After Zhou Tong left, Yi Hao sat on the bed and thought quietly. Yuan Shu of the Celestial Cloud Pavilion wanted to kill him. Perhaps Yuan Mu was a breakthrough. Now that the Qingshan Empire was in chaos, he could make good use of it. However, no matter what, he could not meet them as Yi San Gao. If he wanted to meet them, he had to win the Heavenly Street Convention. He had to let them notice him. This way, he would have the opportunity to meet them and buy more time for the Tianyuan Empire to rise. After making up his mind, Yi Hao sat cross-legged and began to cultivate. After an uneventful night, early the next morning, Wu Wenyong excitedly came to Yi Hao's room with a booklet. "San Gao, let's go. Didn't you want to participate in the Heavenly Street Convention? I know where to sign up. I'll take you there." Wu Wenyong held the booklet in his hand and said excitedly. Yi Hao yawned and said tiredly, "What's that in your hand?" "This is the tour guide of the Qingshan Imperial City. Don't underestimate this booklet. Not only does it record the tour guide, it also records the registration address of the Heavenly Street Convention in the Qingyu district. It cost me 3,000 spirit coins. It's one of a kind." "Qingyu district. That's right." Wu Wenyong explained. "The Qingshan Imperial City is very large. Therefore, it is divided into 7 districts according to the main peak. We are in the Qingyu district. The people in charge of each district are the families that guard the main peak's spirit vein. If you have any problems, you can look for those families. The registration area is also there." "What are you talking about so early in the morning?" Bingyi walked out of the room with an impatient expression. Wu Wenyong proudly showed off the Qingshan booklet that was worth 3,000 spirit coins. After the three of them had breakfast, they rushed to the largest family in the Qingshan district, the Yu family. Along the way, Yi Hao couldn't stop laughing when he saw Wu Wenyong's pale face. The Qingshan booklet that Wu Wenyong bought for 3,000 spirit coins in the morning was sold everywhere on the streets and alleys. It only cost 30 spirit coins. Wu Wenyong's face darkened as he tore the booklet in his hand into pieces. He said angrily, "Damn the waiter! He said there was only one shop. 3,000 spirit coins. So he was tricking me. Let's see how I'll deal with him when we get back. Your family is doing business. How could you be tricked like this? I'm impressed. We're here." Bingyi looked at the two long lines and said plainly. Yi Hao glanced at the two lines. One of the lines had fewer people, so it should be faster to queue up. Therefore, he walked over. Unexpectedly, just as the three of them stood still, an extremely arrogant voice sounded behind the three of them. "Hey, is this where you are supposed to stand? Get out of my way." Yi Hao turned his head and saw a thin and ugly young man walking towards them with a group of servants. Yi Hao was puzzled. "Aren't we all queuing to register? What's the difference?" The young man burst into laughter when he heard that. "Which trash empire are you from? Same as us? How can it be the same? Open your dog eyes and look carefully." At that moment, some people in front of Yi Hao looked at him with disdain. They quickly distanced themselves from Yi Hao. Meanwhile, the people in the other line were gloating. They were ready to watch a good show. Chapter 1458. Yi Hao glanced at the two groups of people and said calmly, "Aren't they all queuing up to sign up? What's the difference?" The somewhat ugly young man looked at Yi Hao as if he was looking at a fool. He laughed loudly and said, "Are you really stupid, or are you pretending to be stupid? Can't you see that the people in this group with fewer people are all rich and noble people? Look at the group with more people. They are all uncouth people like you. Do you deserve to stand here?" When the people in the other group heard this, their eyes were filled with anger. They looked at the servants behind the man and suppressed their anger. Unexpectedly, the young man pointed at a man with a dusty face and scolded, "What are you looking at? I'm talking about a bumpkin from a small place like you. Why don't you take a look at what you're wearing? How dare you sign up for the Heavenly Street convention like this? You really don't know how to write the word shame." The dusty man was angry, but he didn't dare to say anything. Yi Hao found it funny and said, "According to what you said, wouldn't the Heavenly Street convention become a fashion show?" "Ha!" The crowd burst into laughter. The ugly man's face turned red and he shouted angrily, "What are you laughing at? Shut up!" Hearing this, the servants behind him all pulled out the sabers at their waists and looked coldly at the crowd. Everyone kept silent. The ugly man's cold eyes swept across the crowd. No one dared to look at him. Then he looked at Yi Hao and sneered, "Didn't I tell you? Uncouth people like you from a third or fourth rank empire don't deserve to stand here. Get out of my way." Yi Hao didn't move at all. He said tit for tat, "The Heavenly Street convention determines heroes based on their strength, not their family background. If you're treated differently from the start of the registration, then what's the point of holding the convention?" Yi Hao's words struck a chord with those cultivators of low status who had traveled thousands of kilometers to attend the meeting. Thus, all of them agreed with him. That's right. The Heavenly Street convention determines heroes based on their strength. If it's really like what you said, then it's fine to not participate in the convention. That's right. This is a convention, not a fashion show. It shouldn't be like this. The ugly man shouted, "What are you shouting for? You people don't deserve to stand here." Young Master Wu is right. These vulgar people don't deserve to stand here. Just looking at these people makes me feel dizzy and nauseous. I don't know which empire they are from. They have no manners at all. The smaller the place, the worse the education. Some people recognized the ugly man. They stood beside him and spoke in a strange tone. Then, the two groups of people suddenly got into a fighting stance. They kept pointing at each other's noses and cursing. It looked like they were about to fight. Inside the Yu residence, the Yu family's patriarch, Yuingluan, was sitting in the main hall receiving important guests. Suddenly, he heard the noise outside and frowned, asking, "What happened outside? Why is it so noisy?" A servant hurriedly ran over and said, "Master, the people who are signing up outside seem to be fighting. What's going on?" After that, the servant explained everything that had happened outside the door. Hearing this, the noble guest of the Yu residence frowned and asked, "Then who is the troublemaker?" The servant didn't know the person's name, so he gave a rough description of the troublemaker's appearance. The noble guest put down the teacup in his hand and said with a sinister smile, "Patriarch Yu, that troublemaker is young Master Shu's guest. You should know what to do." Yuingluan was shocked when he heard this and quickly said, I know. Lord, you don't have to worry." Then, Yuingluan waved his hand and a young man standing beside him came to his side. Yuingluan whispered something in his ear. The young man nodded and respectfully left. Outside the door, the crowd was still arguing. At this time, a young man walked out of the Yu residence. When the somewhat ugly man saw him, he abandoned Yi Hao and quickly went forward and greeted, "Oh, isn't this young Master Yu Sanjiang? Why did you come out personally?" Yu Sanjiang looked at him with contempt and sneered, "Wu Yong, if I didn't come out, I'm afraid you would bring people to tear down the door of my Yu residence." Wu Yong quickly smiled apologetically and said, "Look at what young Master Yu is saying. How would I dare?" Yu Sanjiang no longer looked at him, and walked to the center of the crowd. Many people recognized Yu Sanjiang and hurriedly greeted him. This Yu Sanjiang was none other than the legitimate son of Qingyu Peak's Yu family. It was said that at such a young age, he was already a 7th-level spirit emperor. Moreover, he had a wide range of friends and connections. Although there were many hedonistic sons in the Qingyu district, the biggest hedonistic son was Yu Sanjiang. After all, the Yu family was one of the 7 great families. It could be said that in the Qingyu district, his Yu family was like a local tyrant. Yu Sanjiang ignored those people and walked straight to Yi Hao. At this time, Wu Yong ran over and said, "Young Master Yu, it's him. It's this guy who is causing trouble." "How am I causing trouble?" Yi Hao asked with a smile. Wu Yong said, "You're not standing where you should be standing and inciting others. If this isn't causing trouble, then what is? What's a place I should be standing? It's a place where a country bumpkin like you shouldn't be standing." Wu Yong was about to say something, but he was interrupted by Yu Sanjiang. Yu Sanjiang looked at Yi Hao and asked softly, "May I ask if you are young Master Yi?" Yi Hao was stunned and nodded, "I am." "Who are you?" "This one is Yu Sanjiang of Qingyu Peak's Yu family." Yu Sanjiang slightly cupped his hands. The surrounding people were all stunned. Why was young Master Yu so respectful to this guy? However, Yu Sanjiang's next words made Wu Yong and the others completely dumbfounded. "Young Master Yi, my father invites you." "What?" The Yu family's patriarch had specially sent his own son to invite Yi Hao into the estate. What was going on? Who exactly was this Yi Hao? He was actually able to make the local tyrant of Qingyu district treat him with such respect. This was not only the thought of Wu Yong and the others but also Yi Hao. Yi Hao returned the greeting, "Thank you, young Master Yu. You're welcome." Then, Yu Sanjiang led the way, and Yi Hao and the others followed behind him. Yi Hao immediately asked, "Young Master Yu, what about the queue?" Yu Sanjiang waved his hand and smiled, "Queue up as you please. It doesn't matter what family background you have. Feel free to do as you please." Yi Hao nodded and smiled. Then, he asked, "Young Master Yu, what about that rude person who spoke rudely just now?" Wu Yong's heart skipped a beat when he heard this. Yu Sanjiang smiled faintly and said loudly, "Wu Yong spoke rudely and disrespected the guests of the Yu residence. He will never be allowed to step into the Yu residence. Yi Hao laughed heartily and walked towards the Yu residence with Yu Sanjiang. Wu Yong froze in place as if he was struck by lightning. If he was not allowed to step into the Yu residence, wouldn't that mean that he would not be able to register in the Qingyu district? He looked at Yi Hao's back view as hatred filled his eyes. Chapter 1459. The people around Wu Yong quickly distanced themselves from him, as if they weren't the ones who spoke up for Wu Yong just now. The rest of the people laughed out loud. On the way to the Yu residence, Wu Wenyong couldn't help but ask quietly, "Do you know the head of the Yu family?" Yi Hao said indifferently, "I don't know him." "Then why would he want to see you?" "How would I know?" Wu Wenyong rolled his eyes and didn't say anything else. Bingyi asked from the other side, "Then the head of the Yu family knows you?" "I don't even know him. How would he know me?" "Then why did you still dare to go?" "What's there to be afraid of? We've already come this far. Do you think we can just leave?" When Bingyi heard Yi Hao's words, he wanted to punch him to death. Although Yi Hao didn't seem to care, he wasn't confused at all. Why would the head of the Yu family want to see a nobody like him? Could it be that his identity was exposed? Logically speaking, that shouldn't be the case. The Yu family shouldn't be so powerful. However, he didn't think too much about it. He would deal with whatever came his way. He would meet the head of the Yu family first. The Yu family was indeed the biggest family in the Qingyu district. Even their mansion was extraordinarily big and imposing. The four of them walked for a full hour before arriving at the Yu family's backyard in a quiet bamboo forest. Yu Sanjiang said softly, "We're here. Young Master Yi, you can go in directly." Hearing this, Yi Hao moved slightly. Wu Wenyong and Bingyi hurriedly followed, but they didn't expect to be stopped by Yu Sanjiang. Yu Sanjiang looked at Wu Wenyong and Bingyi and said, "I'm sorry, my father said that he only wants to see young Master Yi." Wu Wenyong was about to speak when Yi Hao stretched out his hand and said, "It's okay, wait for me here." "Okay," Wu Wenyong replied softly. Bingyi hurriedly said, "Be careful." Yi Hao nodded and then entered the bamboo forest. Not long after, he arrived at the depths of the bamboo forest. There was a stone tea table and a few benches in the depths of the bamboo forest. There was also a pot of tea and some snacks on the tea table. In front of Yi Hao, there was a figure with his back facing him. It looked like a middle-aged man. Yi Hao walked over and said softly, "Greetings to the head of the Yu family." Hearing this, the young man sized Yi. Yi Hao was shocked, but he did not show it. Instead, he smiled and said, "Patriarch, you must be joking. I'm Yi San Gao, not Yi Hao. 5th level Spirit Emperor? Thank you for your praise, Patriarch. You are from St. Yuing Luan put down the teacup in his hand and clapped his hand. "Okay, I've asked all my questions." Yi Hao was stunned. He asked, "Can I leave now?" Yuing Luan turned around and put his hand on Yi Hao's shoulder. Yi Hao felt pain in his shoulder. He was shocked and stared at Yuing Luan. Yuing Luan stared at Yi Hao's red eyes. He smiled and said, "Don't worry. I've asked all my questions. There's still someone who wants to ask you." Immediately after, a figure that Yi Hao was very familiar with appeared in the bamboo forest. Yuing Luan took back his hand and left laughing. Yi Hao looked at the familiar figure. Killing intent flashed in his eyes. He rubbed his aching shoulder and looked at the figure walking over slowly. "Long time no see, banished immortal." Banished immortal covered his mouth and laughed. He sat down and said, "Yes, long time no see. The last time we met, your cultivation wasn't as good as mine. I didn't expect that we'd be the same now. You've improved so fast." Yi Hao sat across from Banished Immortal. He asked coldly, "You want to see me?" "Yes." Then Banished Immortal said, "To be precise, it's our young Master Shu who wants me to see you." "What's the matter?" Banished Immortal looked at Yi Hao's nervous expression. He smiled and said, "Don't be nervous. I won't kill you." Yi Hao sneered. What a joke. Even if we fight, do you think you're my opponent? Don't tell me you want to kill someone in the Yu family? The Yu family patriarch is a half-step spirit emperor. Do you think you can leave safely after killing me? Even if you can, what about your two friends? Yi Hao was shocked. He put away his killing intent and smiled. Banished immortal, you must be joking. We haven't seen each other for so long. Why are you talking about fighting and killing? With that, Yi Hao took a cup of tea from Banished Immortal. The two were talking and laughing. If one didn't know the inside story, they would think they were good friends. After bragging for a while, Yi Hao asked, Tell me, why does your young master want to see me? Simple. Submit to my young master. Yi Hao's hand that was pouring tea froze in midair. Banished Immortal continued, Although your Tianyuan Empire has become a fourth-rank empire, you can't escape the fate of being a vassal. Why don't you submit to my young master? My young master can guarantee your Tianyuan Empire's safety. Yi Hao's expression was uncertain. He was secretly sizing up Banished Immortal. Of course, I know your personality. You're very stubborn. However, this doesn't stop the half-step spirit monarch from being unhappy. He might accidentally kill the emperor of the Tianyuan Empire. If the emperor is gone, the Tianyuan Empire will be leaderless. It will be at the mercy of others. A deep sense of helplessness welled up in his heart. However, it was impossible for him to truly submit. However, he could still pretend to compromise. Yi Hao put down the teapot and said, Since you want me to submit, I want to know how tempting young Master Shu's bargaining chip is. It's so refreshing to talk to smart people. Banished Immortal said, You're a fifth-rank spirit monarch now. It's wishful thinking to win the Heavenly Street Conference. Submitting to young Master Shu can help you win the Heavenly Street Conference. Oh? How can I win? You don't have to worry about that. It's young Master Shu's business. Yi Hao tapped his fingers on the stone table, weighing the pros and cons. Banished Immortal didn't disturb him. He sat on the side and watched him quietly. Okay. As long as young Master Shu helps me win, I, Yi Hao, am willing to lead the entire Tianyuan Empire to submit. Very good. Banished Immortal looked at Yi Hao with admiration. Then Yi Hao got up and left. As soon as Yi Hao left, a young man walked out from the bamboo forest. Banished Immortal saw this and quickly walked over. Yuingluan, who had returned, stood beside the young man respectfully. Young master, everything is according to your orders. Yi Hao also agreed. The young man nodded and asked softly, Is Yi Hao really a fifth-rank spirit monarch? Yuingluan replied respectfully, He's a fifth-rank spirit monarch. I'm a half-step spirit monarch. If he's hiding something, he can't hide it from me. That's not necessarily true. Yuingluan thought for a moment and asked, Do you want me to send someone to test him? The young man stretched and said, You don't need to test him. Isn't there a member of the Lin family in Yueluan Mountain? Let him test him for us. Some of the people who were flirting with each other were shocked by this sudden push of the door. When they saw that it was Yu Sanjiang, they quickly shut their mouth. Some of the girls were not afraid at all and tried to seduce Yu Sanjiang. Yu Sanjiang rejected them one by one with a smile. After pushing open the 86th door, Yu Sanjiang finally found the person he was looking for in the private room on the third floor. Yu Sanjiang looked at the pale rich young master who was hugging a beauty on the bed and said with a smile, Lin, young master Lin, I'm sorry to disturb you. The pale rich young master patted the beauty's plump buttocks and signaled for her to leave. The neatly dressed rich young master sat on the bed and asked with a cold face, What is the meaning of this, young master you? I don't think I've offended you. Why did you come to the Qingju Tower to make trouble for me? Yu Sanjiang sat on the tea chair in the room and explained, Young Master Lin, you've misunderstood me. I'm not here to make trouble for you today. Lin found it funny and said, You ruin my business. How dare you say you're not here to make trouble for me? Lin Lin waved his right hand and the edgeless heavy sword on the side of the bed appeared in his hand. He pointed at Yu Sanjiang and said, "Others are afraid of your Yu family, but I'm not. After all, the Lin family of Yueluan is not to be trifled with." Yu Sanjiang walked to Lin Lin and said, "Young Master Lin, I'll tell you the truth. I got the news that the guy who killed your 4 brothers in Lishan City has entered the city." Lin Lin waved his right hand and a big hole appeared in the window. He looked at Yu Sanjiang and asked, "Is that true?" "Of course it's true. Yu Sanjiang, don't need to lie. Why are you telling me?" Yu Sanjiang looked troubled and said, "Fine, I'll just tell you. The situation in the Qingshan Empire is getting more and more chaotic. I'm doing this because I want to make friends with young Master Lin. If I have nowhere to go in the future, I hope young Master Lin can take me in and give me a place to stay." Then Yu Sanjiang handed Lin Lin a piece of paper with all the information of that person written on it. Lin Lin carried the edgeless heavy sword and walked to the door. He said in a deep voice, "Thank you. I'll remember this kindness." Then, Lin Lin rushed out of the Qingju building. On the street not far from the inn, Yi Hao and the other 2 bought a stick of candied fruit each and started walking towards the inn. Wu Wenyong raised the snack in his hand and took a bite. He said in confusion, "This thing doesn't taste good. I don't understand why you guys like it so much." Yi Hao and Bingy looked at Wu Wenyong with disdain and then started to enjoy the sweetness of the snack. Suddenly, the wind that blew through the street stopped. Yi Hao threw away the snack in his hand and held Wu Wenyong and Bingy behind him to protect them. Wu Wenyong looked at Yi Hao's serious expression and realized that something was wrong. He asked, "What's wrong?" Yi Hao looked at the end of the street. A young man was carrying a huge edgeless heavy sword and was slowly approaching them. That person's killing intent was very strong. It was so strong that the surrounding wind stopped breathing and made way for him. Yi Hao held the sword with both hands and said, "I'll count to 3. You guys run." "Run? Run to where?" Wu Wenyong was anxious. "Run as far as you can." Bingy stared coldly at the figure at the end of the street and took out the jade pendant. 3. That figure placed the edgeless heavy sword on the ground and dragged it. 2. That figure started to run. The friction between the heavy sword and the ground created many sparks. 1. That figure came in front of Yi Hao. He swung the heavy sword and brought out a majestic spiritual energy. Wu Wenyong and Bingy didn't have time to react. They only saw Yi Hao, who was holding Wu Wenyong's sword, smashing into the wall. Boom, boom, boom. Yi Hao, who went through 3 walls, finally stopped and climbed out of a pile of rubble. Lin Lin, who was holding the heavy sword, glanced at Wu Wenyong and Bingy and then walked towards Yi Hao. Not far from the street there was a tall building. On top of the building stood a man who liked to dress up as a woman. Chapter 1461. After Lin Lin left, Wu Wenyong sat down heavily on the ground and breathed heavily. He was so powerful that he couldn't even stand looking at him. This person's strength was really terrifying. Bingy held the jade pendant tightly and stared at Yi Hao and Lin Lin not far away. After Yi Hao came out from the rubble, he knelt on one knee and asked with a smile, "Who are you? I don't think I know you. Who sent you?" Lin Lin dragged his heavy sword and walked over slowly. He answered calmly, "I wasn't sent by anyone. I'm here to take your life." "This is interesting. This is my first time in the imperial city of Green Mountain. When did I offend you? It seems that your memory is not very good. Let me help you recall." Then Lin Lin swung his heavy sword. Yi Hao clenched his teeth and was about to take the blow. Suddenly, he thought of something and quickly dodged. 2 fire phoenix phantoms went straight for Lin Lin. Seeing the fire phoenix phantoms coming, Lin Lin was overjoyed and shouted, "Good!" With a single slash of his sword, he shattered one of the fire phoenix phantoms. Then, with a single punch, the other fire phoenix phantoms disappeared as well. So powerful. Yi Hao looked at Lin Lin's terrifying strength and muttered, "This person is at least in the 8th level of the spiritual emperor realm." Lin Lin looked at Yi Hao with a sneer and asked, "Now, do you remember?" Yi Hao didn't answer. He was hesitating. "Then I'll be frank. I'm the Lin's 4 heroes of Lishan City." Yi Hao's pupil shrank. He said in a low voice, "You're from the Lins of Yueluan City?" Lin Lin laughed. "You finally remember. Were you the one who killed my 4 brothers who were coming to the imperial city of Green Mountain to participate in the Heavenly Street Conference? How did you know I was here? Who told you? It's okay if you don't tell me. I'll beat you up later." Yi Hao's mind raced. He had just arrived at the imperial city yesterday, and today he had encountered an assassination attempt. Who had leaked the secret? Could it be? When he thought up to here, he raised his head and glanced at the surroundings. Although he didn't notice anything, he had already decided not to expose his true strength. Facing Lin Lin's powerful sword, Yi Hao, a 5th-level spirit emperor, could only retreat. However, once he retreated, he was unable to take another step forward, and was continuously suppressed by Lin Lin. Not far away, Banished Immortal watched the fierce battle in the alley and murmured, "It seems that Yi Hao's strength is indeed only at the 5th level of the Spirit Emperor realm." He didn't hide his cultivation at all. Lin Lin's sword didn't work, so he attacked again. Gradually, Yi Hao's body was covered in wounds, and his stamina had reached its limit. Yi Hao panted heavily and muttered to himself, "Even if it's a test, there should be a limit. Why hasn't anyone come to save me yet? Could it be that this isn't a test?" Lin Lin stabbed the heavy sword into the ground, formed a seal with both hands and said in a deep voice, "All right, the game of cat and mouse should be over. I'll send you to the Western Paradise, 10,000 swords without peaks." Rumble. Suddenly the ground cracked, and then the edgeless heavy sword stabbed into the ground slowly rose into the air, and then split into 2 swords, 4 swords, 8 swords. Slowly, more and more edgeless heavy swords spread out behind Lin Lin. Lin Lin looked at the battered and exhausted Yi Hao and said, "Yi Sangao, go to hell." Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. Lin Lin waved his right hand, and 3 edgeless heavy swords directly attacked Yi Hao. Yi Hao didn't dodge and blocked all 3 swords. "Do you think this is enough? It's not over yet." Then, the edgeless heavy swords behind Lin Lin rushed towards Yi Hao one after another, and Yi Hao was instantly drowned by the heavy swords. Banished Immortal, who was standing on a tall building, stretched and said, "All right, let's stop here. If he really dies, it won't be good." Just as Banished Immortal was about to give the order, a small black dot appeared in the middle of the battlefield. Banished Immortal's pupils constricted, and he hurriedly said, "What is that?" At the same time, Yi Hao, who was enduring tens of thousands of attacks, opened his eyes with difficulty. When he saw the calm Bing Yi approaching him, he couldn't help but shout, "Bing Yi, don't come over. Go back, Bing Yi, go back." Unfortunately, Bing Yi didn't move. Thus Yi Hao shouted at Wu Wenyong, "Wenyong, stop her. Don't let her come over, or she will die." Wu Wenyong, who reacted, hurriedly ran towards Bing Yi, but before he could touch her, he couldn't help but fly backwards and crash onto the ground. Yi Hao looked at the spiritual power that was slowly rising from Bing Yi's body and was shocked. Lin Lin saw a hindrance in his field of vision, so he waved his hands, and a few heavy swords flew towards Bing Yi. "No!" Yi Hao shouted, and his spiritual power was completely released. At this moment, Bing Yi's body underwent an earth-shattering change. Bing Yi raised her hand, and the jade pendant that she had been holding tightly shattered, scattering all over the ground. Then 2 strange lights shot out from her calm eyes, and countless amounts of heaven and earth spirit energy rushed towards Bing Yi. The few heavy swords were completely crushed before they could even get close to Bing Yi. Lin Lin looked at Bing Yi in shock. He waved his hands, and all the huge swords attacked Bing Yi. Before Yi Hao could do anything, Bing Yi had already pushed out her palm, and tens of thousands of huge swords were crushed into powder under the immense spiritual power. Bing Yi stepped out and instantly appeared in front of Lin Lin. Lin Lin looked at her in horror, but Bing Yi didn't give him a chance to speak. She lifted him up with one hand and said coldly, "Anyone who wants to kill Yi San Gao must die." Then, Bing Yi waved her left hand in the air, and a pitch-black hole appeared in the air. Her right hand threw Lin Lin into it. Yi Hao only heard Lin Lin scream, and then he disappeared. After doing all this, Bing Yi's vision turned black, and she was about to faint. Yi Hao, who was dragging his injured body, hurriedly ran over to catch the unconscious Bing Yi. Then, the alley returned to its peaceful state. At the same time, in a mountain range thousands of miles away from Qingshan Royal City, a group of masked people wearing red clothes looked in the direction of Qingshan Royal City at the same time. Then, all of them rushed towards Qingshan Royal City. Lishan City, at the door of a quiet room at the back of the underground auction. Oxhead and Horseface hurriedly knocked on the door. After getting permission, they hurriedly opened the door, knelt on the ground and said, "Mister, this is bad. The princess's whereabouts have been exposed. I know. Prepare early. Someone is coming to take her home." "Yes." Oxhead and Horseface left the room. The young but dignified voice finally let out a deep sigh. On the tall building, Banished Immortal looked in horror at Bing Yi, who suddenly released a huge amount of spiritual power, and said, What terrifying power is this? Why can't I feel Lin Lin's aura? Who is this mysterious woman?" Yi Hao carried the unconscious Bing Yi and hurriedly left the alley with Wu Wenyong. Chapter 1462. In the inn, Yi Hao looked at the unconscious Bing Yi, his eyes filled with worry. Bing Yi's brows were furrowed and her expression was cold. The spiritual energy in her body was in a mess and there was no order to it. Yi Hao tried to channel his spiritual energy to help Bing Yi clear the spiritual energy in her body, but it was rejected without exception. Wu Wenyong stood at the side anxiously and said, "Bing Yi can't stay unconscious forever. I'll go find a godly doctor." "It's no use." Yi Hao stopped Wu Wenyong, who was about to leave, and said, "No matter how powerful the godly doctor is, it's useless. We can only find someone with a higher cultivation level than Bing Yi to help her clear the chaotic spiritual energy in her body." "But where are we going to find such a person?" "There's no need to. I'm afraid there's no such person in the entire Qingshan Empire." "What did you say?" "Bing Yi doesn't have any spiritual energy. Why is her cultivation level so terrifying?" Wu Wenyong was completely stunned. Yi Hao tried to channel his spiritual energy again, but it was rejected as soon as it entered Bing Yi's body. However, he also managed to sense the rich spiritual energy in Bing Yi's body. If they were to compare their spiritual energy, Yi Hao's spiritual energy would be like a small pond, while Bing Yi's spiritual energy would be like an ocean. The difference was that big. That was why Yi Hao said there was no one with a stronger spiritual energy than Bing Yi in the entire Qingshan Empire. Wu Wenyong listened to Yi Hao's explanation and fell into deep thought. Then, he asked, "Then what should we do now?" Yi Hao sighed and said helplessly, "We can only wait for the spiritual energy in Bing Yi's body to return to its original position." Green Fallen Peak, Celestial Cloud Pavilion. Yuan Shu listened carefully to Banished Deity's description. He looked calm on the surface, but in reality, his heart was in turmoil. "Is what you said true?" Banished Deity hurriedly lowered his head and said, "Everything I said is true. That 8th-level Spirit Emperor Lin Lin couldn't resist at all in the hands of that girl and was killed directly." "Interesting." Yuan Shu stared out of the window and muttered, "I didn't expect Yi Hao to have such an expert by his side." "What about Yi Hao's strength?" Banished Immortal replied, "He's definitely at the 5th level of the Spirit Emperor realm. He fought with Lin Lin for hundreds of rounds, and his life was hanging by a thread several times. The strength he showed is definitely at the 5th level of the Spirit Emperor realm. It doesn't seem like he's hiding anything. Looks like he's not hiding his strength. Young master, what should we do next? Yuan Shu murmured. Even Lin Lin, a level 8 Spirit Emperor, was unable to resist. That mysterious woman must be at least a Spirit Emperor. This is indeed a hidden danger. It seems that we must find out more about that woman. Otherwise, it will be difficult to carry out our plan. Young master, what do you mean? Yi. As soon as Yuan Shu finished speaking, a tall man wearing a bamboo hat and black clothes appeared from the corner of the room. The man stood quietly beside Yuan Shu without saying a word. You heard what I said just now. Then, Yuan Shu said, this woman is not an ordinary person. Go personally. You must find out the depths of this woman. Do you want her dead or alive? The bamboo hat man called Yi spoke for the first time, but his voice was abnormally hoarse. Living people are more beneficial to us. Then, Yi disappeared into the darkness. On the other side, Yuan Mu also received news about Bing Yi. At this moment, his expression was very serious. He looked at the bronze-masked man kneeling on the side and asked, Are you sure that woman only used one move to instantly kill Lin Lin? Yes. The man recalled, at the time, that group of people was also there. I didn't get too close, but I could still feel Lin Lin's aura disappear in an instant. It was as if he had evaporated into thin air. It was as if such a person had never existed in this world. Hearing the man's description, Yuan Mu's brows furrowed even tighter. He muttered to himself, According to your description, this person is definitely not from the ancient demon realm. It seems that the Qing Shan Imperial City is becoming more and more restless recently. Then what should we do? Yuan Mu picked up a brush and wrote the word wait on a piece of paper. He said in a low voice, Do nothing. Just watch quietly. We won't get involved in this mess. Yes. The moon was bright and the stars were sparse. It was late at night. Yi Hao sensed the spirit energy in Bing Yi's body again. His sad face finally showed a trace of a smile. Wu Wenyong couldn't wait to ask, How is Bing Yi now? Yi Hao exhaled and sat on the ground. Bing Yi's condition is much better now. The spirit energy in her body is not so chaotic. She should be fine after resting for a night. Wu Wenyong looked at Bing Yi's relaxed forehead and let out a sigh of relief. Okay, go back and rest. I'll take care of her here. Okay. Then, only the unconscious Bing Yi and the exhausted Yi Hao were left in the room. Not long after, the sound of partridges came from outside the room. Yi Hao heard this sound and became alert. He looked at the sleeping Bing Yi and tiptoed out. Yi Hao, who was standing at the door, listened to the sound of the partridges. After identifying the direction, he returned to his room. Then, a figure in night clothes jumped down from the window of the room and came to an alley not far from the inn. The figure in night clothes saw Zhou Tong, who was holding the flowing green spear, in the deepest part of the alley. Yi Hao looked behind him and saw that no one was following him. He went to Zhou Tong and asked, How is it? How's the investigation of Lin Lin? Xiao Di, I went to investigate Lin Lin's whereabouts today. I found that he went straight from the Qingju building to the inn. His purpose is very clear. Sure enough, someone leaked my whereabouts. Who is this person? I don't know who it is yet. Zhou Tong paused and then said, However, I heard that the young master of the Yu family, Yu Sanjiang, appeared at the Qingju building in the afternoon. Yu Sanjiang? Yi Hao thought carefully. Yu Sanjiang is from the Yu family, and the Yu family is backed by the Yuan family. So, Yuan Shu is worried about me and wants to test me? According to my inference, that is indeed the case. Yi Hao couldn't help but feel strange. He then asked, I've been very curious. I hid my identity very well along the way. How did Yuan Shu know that Yi Hao is Yi Sangao? And how did he know where I was staying? Zhou Tong had been in the imperial city of Qingshan Imperial City for a while and heard a lot about the Yuan family. He said, "Xiao Di, you don't know. The reason why the Yuan family can dominate the 7 major families is that they have a powerful divine weapon, the Fairy Cloud Pavilion." Chapter 1463. In the beginning, the Yuan clan was inconspicuous among the 7 great clans. It was only in the hands of the 23rd generation of the Yuan clan that they began to be valued. This clan head only did one thing to bring the Yuan clan to greater heights, and that was to establish the Immortal Cloud Pavilion. At that time, the Yuan clan head ignored the opposition of the clan and spent a huge sum of money to establish the Immortal Cloud Pavilion. In the beginning, the Immortal Cloud Pavilion was used to protect the Yuan clan. It could be said that it was just a protective talisman. However, in the later development it slowly changed. The Yuan clan slowly cultivated the Immortal Cloud Pavilion into a monster that could gather intelligence and assassinate. The Immortal Cloud Pavilion now had 2 departments. One was the Dark Department, which was mainly responsible for gathering intelligence, spying, and guarding the pavilion. The other department was the Shadow Department, which was mainly responsible for assassinations and missions. The Yuan clan controlled the strongest intelligence and assassination forces in the entire Green Mountain Empire. Who would not be afraid? It was not an exaggeration to say that the movements of the entire Green Mountain Empire could not be hidden from the Yuan clan. Even the Yuan clan head, who was also the pavilion master of the Immortal Cloud Pavilion, knew about the few concubines of the Green Mountain Emperor. What was more terrifying was that not only did they know about you, they could also send people to assassinate you at any time. It was like a huge knife hanging over everyone's head, as if it could fall at any time and take away someone's life. After listening to Zhou Tong's explanation, Yi Hao's expression turned serious. At first, he thought that the Yuan clan was just an ordinary clan. However, the more he understood, the more he realized that the Yuan clan was not only a huge clan, but also a huge clan that was very difficult to deal with. "So, you have to be careful when you ask me to come out. Because there are people from the Dark Department watching us." "That's right." Zhou Tong's expression was also not relaxed. He said, "But young Emperor, you don't have to worry. Yuan Shu has no evil intentions for now. Otherwise, the people guarding the entrance of the inn would not be from the Dark Department, but from the Shadow Department." Yi Hao still found it hard to understand. He said strangely, "I still don't understand. Yuan Shu used the entire Tianyuan Empire to threaten me to submit to him. Logically speaking, he should want to kill me immediately after I took the 10,000-year snow spirit grass and my Dao sword that originally belonged to him. But now, he actually wants to help me win the championship in the Heavenly Street meeting. It's really hard to understand." Zhou Tong was also unable to understand. Yi Hao shook his head and said, "Looks like we can only take one step at a time." Following that, Yi Hao handed Zhou Tong an interspatial ring. After Zhou Tong took a closer look, he was shocked. The interspatial ring was filled with pills that were shining with golden light. Yi Hao said indifferently, "These are some perfect 4th-grade pills. They can help you increase your cultivation in a short period of time. However, you must be careful when using them. Don't take them blindly." "Understood. Also, if I don't take the initiative to look for you during this period of time, don't come looking for me. You are the only power I can use here." "Yes, don't worry, young Emperor." Just as Zhou Tong was about to leave, Yi Hao suddenly felt a black figure flash past the side of the street, rushing towards the inn he was staying at. "No, I have to go back and take a look." "You go back first." After that, Yi Hao bid farewell to Zhou Tong and went straight to the inn. After the black figure came to the roof of the inn, he was not in a hurry to take action. Instead, He first observed the location of the inn and then went straight to a room on the second floor. Yi Hao followed behind the black figure. His pupils constricted because that room was the room where Bing Yi was. Yi Hao's heart was in his mouth. He hurriedly rushed in the same direction. However, before he could take action, the black figure actually returned to the roof. Yi Hao also quietly hid behind the eave. The black figure came to the roof and looked coldly at the swordsman in blue who forced him out of the room. The swordsman had a sword at his waist and his hands behind his back. He smiled and said, "Yuan Clan, Celestial Cloud Pavilion, the #1 assassin of the Shadow Department, Ing Yi, right?" Ing Yi was suddenly stunned. He asked in a hoarse voice, "How did you know it was me?" The swordsman smiled and said, "I just said it casually. I didn't expect it to really be you." You. Ing Yi, who was fooled by the swordsman, was very angry. He tiptoed and directly attacked the swordsman in blue. Yi Hao, who was behind the eaves, heard the conversation between the two. He was furious. What does Yuan Shu mean? He just tested me during the day and now he wants to attack Bing Yi at night. This is ridiculous. Does he really think that I, Yi Hao, am easy to bully? The swordsman in blue was calm in the face of Ing Yi's aggressive attack. Although Ing Yi's attack was very fast, he couldn't even touch the swordsman in blue's clothes. Ing Yi roared and waved his right hand angrily. A few flying swords with cold light went straight to the swordsman in blue's face. The swordsman smiled indifferently and pointed his sword to the left and right a few times. Those flying swords fell straight on the roof of the inn. Then the blue-clothed swordsman gently pointed his foot on Ing Yi's chest. Ing Yi felt as if he had been hit by a heavy blow, and his whole person quickly retreated. The battle between the two was very fierce, but they were able to keep silent. This was very scary. If it wasn't for Yi Hao's timely detection, he might not have noticed the two of them. Yi Hao didn't see how the swordsman in blue attacked at all. He murmured, "This guy is too strong. This sword has such power. It seems that this person is here to protect Bing Yi, not an enemy." Ing Yi, who finally stopped himself, covered his chest and coughed violently. Then, he looked at the swordsman in blue with fear and asked, "Who are you?" The swordsman in blue laughed loudly. "The half-step spirit monarch of your ancient demon realm is only SOSO. Ancient demon realm. Half-step spirit monarch." Ing Yi and Yi Hao were shocked at almost the same time, although it wasn't for the same reason. Ing Yi looked at him with fear and asked, You are not from the ancient demon realm?" "That's right." The blue-clothed swordsman put away his playful expression and said seriously, "Bing Yi will not participate in the private matters between the Yuan family and that kid. However, you should not send people to mess with him. If there is a next time, I will make sure that the entire Yuan family dies without a burial place." The swordsman in blue's voice wasn't loud, but it was clearly heard by Ing Yi. "Get out of here." Ing Yi was stunned and then ran away from the inn in embarrassment. The swordsman in blue didn't leave the roof. He said to the air, "Are you still not going to come out? You have been watching the show for half a day." Yi Hao was shocked, but then he felt relieved. He rubbed his head and walked out with a smile on his face. The swordsman in blue saw Yi Hao's red eyes and became absent-minded. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.